With that, thank you very much for joining us. Good afternoon, evening, or morning, whatever time it happens to be for you, and welcome to the grand finals for Contenders Korea Season 2 of 2021. We've seen just a little bit of what the venue looks like. This is being played live on LAN in Busan. It is a very exciting match, a very exciting day, an absolute clash of titans, and I'm thrilled to be here to bring you all the action. Of course, I am joined as always by Kevin AVRL. How are you doing today?
It's another grand finals, this time live in venue. Obviously, we're still here, but the players will be playing from the Busan Esports Arena, the best two teams of the year that we've had throughout the entire year. And I think a first for Korean Contenders as well, because we haven't had the same two teams go to back-to-back finals like this. We've had maybe a single team go to two finals in a row, but to have two teams both reach the finals yet again, that's astounding, and that's a statement to be made that these are by far the best that we could have had.
It's a fantastic situation, because obviously the backing to all of this is O2 Blast winning Season 1 this year in what was an almost infuriatingly close grand finals, like easily by far and wide the closest we've ever had, due to the structure of that season as well, with the way the playoffs worked. It was two series and then a tiebreaker after that, because the two teams were actually drawn after the two respective series that they played in that grand finals. And like you say, the fact that we have the same two teams occurring again in this grand finals, not something that that is really a common occurrence in Korean Contenders. I think you're right, it is an actual first. And that's what makes this so exciting, because obviously O2 Blast, who last year were unable to pick up the second win in part 2 of the year, they're wanting to do that this year. They're wanting to accomplish this year what they could not last year. Talon, on the other hand, they're jonesing for that rematch. They only just fell short in Season 1. They want to earn their stripes at the top as well.
Yeah, I mean, O2 Blast is a team who, right now, since the departure of both Runaway and Element Mystic, have been the dominant force in Korea. Talon have come close, and now they will yet again make a finals. So go ahead and take a look at how we actually got here, where, you know, over the course of the season, we started out with two groups of 5. That's for a total 10 teams. Played through this entire play-in stage, very similar to what Overwatch League did. And now we reached a top 6 knockout bracket where you had the best 6 teams in. BM Hawk made a reasonable run through. Team CC, unfortunately, came in below expectations. WGS looked reasonable, but unfortunately did fall to BM Hawk. That was, again, making that run through that bracket. T1 were looking like a team that could really pose a threat to O2, and possibly even, obviously, got versus Talon as well. They actually beat Talon in that upper bracket 3-1 that you can see in that second round, but unfortunately, they did have to drop out of the season due to COVID-related issues. So, again, we wish them all the best, but they will not be playing any further matches. Talon get automatically seeded into the grand finals after defeating BM Hawk 4-1, and O2 Blast automatically into the grand finals as well after defeating BM Hawk 3-0. So, really, BM Hawk, in a way, is kind of like the third best team here.
Yeah, in an interesting kind of way. I mean, I would still personally feel like T1 actually is the third best team, and could have potentially been, you know, second best, or, like, let's be completely honest, it could have been them who made it to the finals, depending on how those matches shook out if we were able to play them. But the thing that I actually note from that, the thing that my eye is kind of drawn to, was the fact that O2 Blast just straight up haven't been tested. The last time they were tested actually was when they played T1 towards the end of the regular season. They dropped one map. That's it, just one. They didn't even have to play in the rematch against them, which you can guarantee that O2 Blast would have been preparing and being very wary of, knowing that T1 was a very capable team, indeed the only team so far to be capable of actually damaging O2 Blast in any way, shape, or form. Talon had the strictly more dominant run through their regular season, but as soon as we hit playoffs, things started to get thrown more into contention to them. They're looking shakier, if you will. They still look excellent, but they look shakier. And that makes this grand finals very, very interesting, because obviously Talon, I think they had that roadblock removed by not having to play against T1 in the losers bracket finals, which also means there's maybe one less step of galvanization that they've had ahead of this grand finals. You sort of look at that and go, if they had to play and beat T1, I'd feel more intrinsically confident about their position in this grand finals, more than I already do, for what it's worth. And on the O2 Blast side of things, we've barely seen them for however long, and they've looked no worse than ever.
And that's the thing, right? Because T1 to me would have been that extra factor that could have challenged both teams. It would have been the test. We would have had that kind of measuring stick. How well did T1 play against O2? First of all, because we want to see a potential team go up against O2, push them, make it a close game, be competitive. Otherwise, it does seem like O2, I don't want to write any other team off, but they've been the best team, at least by the eye test so far this year. They haven't dropped any games. Aside from that one map, like you said, Talon have dropped games. Talon versus T1 could have been an interesting one because we don't know. Would Talon have beaten T1? Would T1 be in the finals today? That would have been the real test for Talon, but they've managed to get past T1, again, due to unforeseen circumstances. Talon now need to kind of strike while that iron's hot. They've been given a great opportunity, and they're a team that I think are worthy of being there. I think either Talon or T1, based on what I've been seeing strength-wise, could have been here. I understand that Talon did trip and fall over for one match this year. I don't really apply that as a team's identity for one failure. I think, if you looked at that, O2 Blast have had plenty of failures in the past, and they managed to move on forward. So now it's time for Talon to go into that grand finals and I think finally give us a game we were waiting for, because we were also denied of a Talon versus O2 Blast matchup in that winners bracket when T1 beat them, and now we're going to finally get it, our first Talon versus O2 Blast matchup for the entire season, if you can believe that.
Yeah, first time they've played each other since O2 Blast beat Talon in the playoffs of Season 1. I mean, the fascination for me here is, let's make one thing clear. There is no question about whether or not Talon deserve to be here. Like, let's remove that concept altogether. They've already demonstrated that thoroughly, both across last season and then across this season. They've now proved a level of consistent top caliber play, as has O2 Blast. This is, by every measure of the phrase, a clash of titans.
And again, the best two teams of the entire year. No doubts in my mind now. Back-to-back grand finals. I said it was rare for a region like Korea. To be honest with you, it's just rare overall for any region, for all esports, really. You don't normally have back-to-back grand finals, the exact same two teams. O2 Blast in the past have been a team that has a weird curse, I would say, in the summer season, obviously in Korea, Northern Hemisphere here. They do great in spring. That first season of the year, massive uptick, looking fantastic. They won last year, that first season. Last year as well, though, in that second season, that's where things get a little bit weird for O2 Blast. Not the best of seasons. They barely make it even into any sort of playoffs, any sort of postseason. Barely scrape by in their group. That was, by the way, when Talon actually joined in and came 4-0, completely swept everybody, including O2 Blast. World GameStar Phoenix, WGS Phoenix ended up winning that season, and then they bombed out in the gauntlet. And O2 Blast, again, in the second half of the year, did not live up to expectations. Finally, I think in 2021, they might be doing that.
Exactly. It's so rare that we've even had those sort of repeated streaks of dominance in Contenders' career. Indeed, as the region has changed over the last couple of years with some of those mainstays, the mainstay organizations that is leaving, those players have still stayed in the scene, they've moved around, and there's still all this room for new entities to come in to establish themselves, to take up that space. O2 Blast are now the old guard, Talon of the young upstart.
Here it is, highlights from the season coming over. Developments in the meta as well. Talon playing up against Team CC, BM Hawk, some of their best moments. Kane coming in for attack, and now playing as a starter on the team. Heesang and Ardo, both mega mainstays. Ardo's Genji has been one of the most significant weapons over the course of the season. We'll see how that goes up against O2 Blast. Obviously some heavy hitters on the other side, and Talon Esports, you can see on your screens right now, this particular composition as well, with the Winston and the Ana and the Nanos. That's what they're playing for. And here's Talon Esports, and O2 Blast getting ready to take the stage live at the Busan Esports Arena. Live crowd, only 66 members, sold out in 30 seconds. It's 66 members due to the fact that, there are restrictions in terms of how many people can be in the audience based on COVID restrictions. But otherwise, I mean, this is one of the few times we've actually got a live audience for a LAN event.
Exactly, and with that, Talon it's taking their first steps out onto the arena floor. And as I said, these are, in a sense, the young upstarts, at least organization, though in another way, they've actually been here for a reasonable amount of time now as well. They have always hung around the top, but they have never quite taken that pinnacle position. this may yet be the time to do it. And I have to say, I love the layout here. The two teams facing one another, dead across from you, is the one thing stopping you from claiming the ultimate title. As Talon take their seats, let's maybe get a chance now to go and reminisce about O2 Blast season ahead of seeing them take the stage as well. It's only just occurred to me that that eagle wing doesn't really look much like a letter A at all.
You have to suspend your disbelief slightly.
Well, I already can't believe it, so...
Well, you can believe it. Talon are ready to party today. As I believe they still do have Attack on the bench here, but the standard starting six that we've had for most of the year, the Contenders trophy in the background as well. And O2 Blast coming in now as... some would say maybe potentially heavy favorites, but O2 Blast has certainly been the most dominant looking team this entire year. Barely a misstep. Proper has been as phenomenal as ever, and this could be the coronation ceremony now for the best player in all of Korea. Is this going to be the moment we see him ascend for a back-to-back title before he goes into Overwatch League as probably the hottest prospect we've had in some time?
And it would be such a great way to cap off his Contenders career. Find himself a member of one of the most consistent teams, indeed newly consistent. As I sort of said, O2 Blast have, fallen short of the mark time and time again, got those second place finishes and finally broke that threshold last year in Season 1 to actually get a season title, and were unable to follow up that success. We've said it time and again, but here they are now for the first time in their entire history, poised to get the back-to-back, get the entire year, become the winningest team in Korea, and a massive sized roster as well between the players and all of the support staff as well.
The respect being shown as well, bowing to their opponents. It will be a good game, as the 9-man strong roster of O2 Blast, led by O2 Boss, has been there the entire time. In 2018, this roster of O2 Blast was kind of middling at best. They started out with a second place finish in a final versus X6. That was the Contenders Korea finals for Season 1, the first ever finals of Contenders Korea. They were in that. They walked away second place. Then they kind of bowed out the next two seasons without too much to show. Second place yet again in 2019 Season 1 versus Element Mystic. They got swept 0-4. Second place at Pacific Showdown. Fourth place in Season 2 of 2019. But it's 2020 when they finally got their win. We crowned them in that first season as that best team. 4-2 finals versus Runaway. You couldn't have asked for a more storied matchup between two organizations that have been a part of Contenders' career for so long. And since then, they had struggled. They've definitely fallen over. We were very surprised at how early they bowed out in that Season 2 of last year. But now they're back. They're back for a potential third title. This would be their second finals in a row and their third finals in the last 2 years.
And it's such a classic story. You see it in all kinds of competitions. That team that sticks it out through the rough. That team that sometimes is the person persisting, the top dog, purely because they outlast the competition. The sheer tenacity of the organization, of the players, is what has allowed them to be what they are today and be in this position to make history for themselves.
Let's go and take a look at now starting rosters. Talon obviously have quite a large roster here, and they do make quite a bit of substitutions as well. Sorry, O2 are the ones that have a large roster. We'll get to that in a second. Talon have just a 7-man roster. We actually already saw the 6 people walk onto stage. We know that Kane has been the starting off tank so far for this team. By the way, the last time that we'll be seeing tank duos in Contenders Korea as we cap out Overwatch 1 for the year as well. And so for Talon Esports, it's been a team that I think that I've honestly described as the other half of having best in slot players in their specific roles. O2 have some of those players. Talon have some of those players as well. Chorong has still, I think, been the most consistently good main support that we've seen over the course of the year. Talon's main tank has been absolutely phenomenal. That main support plus tank is definitely a highlight of this team, as well as Heesang being just a phenomenal play. If Heesang was of age, there's no doubt in my mind that he'd be off to Overwatch League next year as well.
Exactly, and that's why this is going to be so exciting. We talk so often about the best in role kind of head-to-heads where we see those things get eked out, but this is one of those rare situations where it really feels like every single player in every single slot could be argued to be best in role in the region across both teams. There's no sort of grayness and ambiguity further down as you go away from maybe the hotshot DPSs, and then you get just a reasonable tank lineup. Like, this is like creme de la creme front to back, and the exact same is true of O2 Blast. Let's go ahead and meet the latter team here, the form of O2 Blast, see what their starting lineup is going to be. Pretty expected. Junbin going to be on the starting I imagine that'll be a wrecking ball type situation, though it does keep options open. They also have the starting map pick because they are the highest seed, which means with that 9-man roster, they've had the benefit of tailoring their starting roster to what exactly they want to play on Control.
So Proper, Junbin, and Finn have been the mainstays of the starting lineup. Obviously, Proper being the spare front of that, the most talked about player, the most impressive looking player, and most likely now also the best player. I've said that a few times. He's going to be flanked by a couple of interesting teammates that if you're only just tuning in now and you haven't quite seen the rest of the season, you're not too sure what O2 Blast is all about, Runaway, having exited this particular season, had a lot of their members brought up and put onto the O2 Blast roster. So O2 Blast went from a championship winning roster in Season 1 to then bolstering their lineup even further by adding members from Runaway in the form of Merit, FaZe, and Chio here as well. So they've really stacked themselves up quite significantly, and a position where even with the starting 6, they could be winning a championship. But they've got further members than that. They can even still sub in guys like Kilo, who did also play with O2 Blast last season, to get that championship. He's the hit scan specialist on the team. You got guys like Max who can step in for Junbin as well. And then obviously on the other side, who we have left, Vindime as well, who can step in for Chio in that main support position.
Yeah. And we do see those substitutions come in and out, not infrequently. So very much on the table here. In among all of it, though, I inevitably feel like I'm going to spend a grand amount of the series talking about the DPSs in the head-to-heads, because again, it's so many best in role caliber players. You've already obviously talked about the likes of Proper and Heesang, but of course Merit and Ardo being in the mix as well, and that's to say nothing of the substitutions we will likely see. It's exciting to me. We have that grand head-to-head, and no doubt we'll see a good number of mirror matchups as well. Always a good time. Always a great way to get a real sense of who actually is the best of the best when you're in those head-to-heads. And like I say, I imagine we will spend a wealth of time talking about it, because it's so many, if you will, so many players that can single-handedly tip the balance. Like players that weigh the game so heavily in your team's favor. Sometimes they just go on an absolute tear. They'll get an enormous rack of kills. They'll get a huge 2-3 man pulse bomb. Those sorts of plays that completely throw everything else out the window when you look at who is likely to win or lose a fight. And when those things are happening simultaneously for both teams, it really pushes them each to their absolute limits.
The teams favoring similar compositions as well, similar styles. We obviously saw in the Overwatch League this year, dominance coming through from the dive, especially ball dive. Expect both teams to be hitting in that direction. Map 1 will be up on your screen fairly soon. Again, as a reminder, that is O2 Blast map pick in this 1-4 format. And honestly, I don't think any team has a particularly bad map today. Usually you would have a matchup where one team more favors the rush brawl kind of compositions, another team favors the dive a little bit heavier, maybe another team really wants to play that double shield. Here I think Talon and O2 Blast have a lot of the same strengths. Heesang versus Proper is going to be a matchup to look out for. You got Kellen versus Junbin as well, especially starting out on Ilios. Looking forward to some Wrecking Ball gameplay as we move forward. Kellen's Winston is probably what you're really waiting for if you're Talon Esports. When you can get to a map that can really force out that Winston, probably by map number 3 on Hybrid. I'm looking at Numbani as a possible map pick for Talon Esports if they don't win that assault in map number 2. We got to go the full distance today. I think this has a lot of potential ahead of us, and this is where we get to see who really is the best and who has the players on the team that is truly the best in slot.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to be, looking at map 6 onward, and that's to say nothing of potential draws, depending on how maps like Assault end up shaking out, or indeed even hybrids, less likely, but always possible. But as I said before, of course, Ilios being O2 Blast map pick, them being the higher seeded team due to their run through the upper bracket, Talon having to come in through the lower bracket of the playoffs format, and from here, it is a first to 4. The loser of each map will pick the next one. And that, again, there's so many more layers to that. Like you said, with Talon potentially looking at certain map picks to lean themselves into preferable picks. And I also mentioned previously when we were taking a look at the rosters, obviously, Junbin's Wrecking Ball on Ilios is, at the very least, should be an absolute standout. We'll start off with some highlights, no doubt. With that, I think we're on the way in. We are so nearly there. Look at them. Happy, good spirits on O2 Blast side. That's what you want to see. You want to see a team relaxed, confident, and capable.
Alrighty. Map number 1 here. The Grand Finals. Contenders Korea Season 2. 4-2. Was the scoreline for O2 Blast in their first victory versus Runaway. That was last year. And we look at, how things went earlier in the year. Season number 1. O2 Blast in that first matchup. 4-2 was their win as well versus Talon Esports. Talon came back. Day number 2. Beat them 4-1. Then obviously O2 Blast had that match tiebreaker on that very fateful Ilios, which is where we're starting today. 2-1 victory on the Ilios to tiebreak those first to 4 wins. 2 teams that went very close in the last Grand Finals now facing up again. And finally, okay, let's take a look at it. What's some map we're going to get first?
A polite applause from the audience. And of course, the cup that they are playing for. Gorgeously lit, I might say, in the Contenders' colors. And there is no more time to waste. It's time to get on to Ilios.
Well, cheers from the audience here as well. Going to be starting out with the ball composition. Junbin, we'll see if he stays on that Orisa. It's not uncommon on this map. It does look like it will be the shield comp. Mercy on the back line as well, pocketing Proper's Echo. Something he hasn't really played that much of this particular season has been mainly the Tracer. So, full ball Tracer Sombra die from Talon Esports and O2 Blast with a shield comp.
Proper getting sky high, not wasting any time on the wraparound with Chio in the pocket as Junbin just kind of looks to hold down the fort, actually not playing the ball as you noted. So instead it's going to be Talon trying to get control of this high ground. Playing a bit of bowling there, but Kellen finds himself dismantled. You ever see that hydraulic press channel where it crushes the bowling ball? That's kind of what just happened to him. Trying to get that counter dive. Finn is brought a little bit low, but is otherwise unchallenged. And Talon, 1 man down. The cap having obviously gone over. They haven't lost anyone else, but they do just have to wait. Might let use... Oh, that's really unfortunately just losing Vigilante right as Kellen was getting back into the mix. And now Chorong too in trouble.
Talon haven't really been able to reset just yet. If they lost Chorong there as well, would have been a disaster. Another 10 seconds off the board. Very far away from ultimates as we can only see Kellen up for about, 57, 58%. So2 Blasted are leading the way. Merit on this Hanzo as well, which I think, knowing this particular matchup, he would have probably preferred something like a Tracer, but assuming the other team was also going to play the Orisa, the Hanzo makes a lot of sense, can still definitely make a lot of damage happen, and is doing that by the fact that he's nearly got that Dragon Strike available.
And they're just not quite getting the inroads yet here, Talon. It's a huge amount of damage straight across onto the tanks. Merit unchallenged is a sight to behold. Talon struggling to even get a foothold with that dive composition. Now losing Vigilante, this being a much more resounding one. No ultimates yet brought to bear from Talon, and only the amplification matrix used from O2 Blast.
And Talon Esports is still waiting for their first ult. Vigilante's going to get there first with the Transcendence. Ardo is so far away from that EMP. And yeah, I mean, 83% is technically there, but at the same time, it's been, 70% in total for O2 Blast, and still capping through, and Talon only just hitting the EMP timing. Now that cannot happen if you're Talon Esports. You must hit those timings much earlier. Ardo's also been spotted, which is not ideal.
Yeah, they have to pop the Transcendence, mainly just because otherwise he's going to be under pressure on the point, getting the manual hack out. up onto Proper. Doesn't quite go off in time before the duplicate. Now Ardo has to come around, look for an EMP, and Proper is going to have a counter EMP as well. There we go. Rakes it across. Junbin already has the supercharger down. Here's the dive. What can they get done? Not enough time to kill FaZe before he gets to reset with a self-destruct. Unfortunately, they've just not made their headway. Pulse Bomb out. There we go. First casualty of the fight. But as I say, that Kane is demeched on 99% as well. So no reset explosion for him. Still, though, man advantage for Talon. They haven't lost Kane yet, and that rally running is doing wonders. They've managed to flip the point. Even as they lose Kane, they need to keep the pressure up, though, because O2 Blast can just get a quick respawn on Junbin and go straight back in.
I was going to say as well, Proper might have missed the duplicated EMP, but he actually hits all of the mines anyway, which completely clears Talon's area pressure. That's Kellen's mines deleted. Mirror under a little bit of fire now as Finn. He's super low. Don't know if the immortality field is available. Doesn't look like it. With Jinbin falling as well, O2 Blast is going to have to reset.
That was the critical break point as well. O2 Blast had reset, they got back into position, and they deployed their amplification matrix. But Talon had read the play was coming and had set up Hisang very nicely around the side, just keeping that pressure on Finn. Managed to get some timings on abilities very nicely as well, so there was no defense matrix, was no immortality field, and Talon are able to push up the percentage now.
Talon can now really comfortably snowball if they can get another EMP and put themselves in that situation. As O2 Blast don't have a lot to work with. They've recently changed comps as well. Finn and Merit now on towards a Zen and a Tracer. Starting from fresh, really. Looking for a pulse opportunity. Lots of good defensive plays available for Talon as well, with the Transcendence being there.
Takes a bit of a beating. Still has Chio in the pocket, who pops the Valkyrie as well. Pulse Bomb lobbed out. Doesn't quite find its mark, but now is that EMP available. Talon are looking green across the board, as it were, only lacking that Pulse Bomb and the rally here, which isn't too far off. Kellen's going to go in for it first. Has to get that armor up. Oh, ends up caught on a little bit of map geometry. Goes down, but equal find there in Proper, thanks to the help of the EMP. They don't quite get Junbin or FaZe, but they've got a decent position to get a wraparound. Kane needs to get back in this mech stat. It's a really tight one, but they finally dispatch of Junbin as well. And now as we round the bend at 90%, the fight continues. If this is a late loss for O2 Blast, then it will be their last loss. 90% now as O2 Blast are trying to reset.
And they need Junbin to touch immediately. The minefield will be there in just a hot second as well for that next fight. There's a lot of ultimates coming online for O2 Blast, so they can definitely survive. Choring having already popped that rally. We'll see how long that armor can last. Merit already has his Pulse Bomb eaten away, and now we're looking to Proper for the copy.
Ooh, there we go. It's going to be Transcendence out from Vigilante. Shio's in trouble. That's the first casualty, and Finn quickly dispatched off. I think that might just be the nail in the coffin, as it were, at least for well here. They do trade off with Vigilante, but at this point, with FaZe out of the mech, Junbin under pressure, hacked and killed. Talon, even with losing those two support slates, should just be able to finish off the last few members around this point. That will be them securing the first map of Ilios.
Excellent comeback from Talon Esports. It was looking pretty dire at several points. We were looking at a situation where there was not even an EMP available from Ardo. Above 70% was the objective time and objective percentage for O2 Blast, and we hadn't really seen ultimates and critical ultimates out of Talon at that stage, so quite one-sided in favor of O2 Blast before Talon were able to get that very critical fight at the 99% mark, and then the snowball on the other way around, going for the 0-99 catch-up. They successfully do so. They have the ultimates running. O2 Blast start transitioning over to another composition partway through, and they just don't have the ultimates. It's far too slow. Proper can't get it done on the Echo this time around. And now that we move over to, what is it, Lighthouse, Proper should be going over towards the Tracer, and that is going to be his real carry hero.
And here we go. We're going to get that Tracer mirror as well between Proper and Hisang, one of those matchups I was talking about in the pre-game. Yeah. The DPS head-to-head between two of the best DPSs in Korea. Potentially even in the world. We'll have to see how Proper fares in Overwatch League. But at any rate, in the interim, it's Merit getting the better of Hisang to kick things off. So now Proper has a lot of freedom. You see that expressed in the damage the tanks are taking and the ultimate charge that Proper is accumulating.
1 HP on Vigilante and Kane, and with the DMEC coming through, Talon just dropping members far too quickly here. But to Blast, they have a huge advantage. Can't catch Proper just yet. Recall still available, and now Kellen in trouble.
Yeah, he will be able to roll away to safety, but Talon do just have to take the reset. Could have been a lot more costly, but they haven't really accomplished much either. Kane's still out of the mech as well. Chorong actually in trouble here, still hanging around the side of this point, likely to get surrounded if they're not careful. Impressively staying alive, but Kane's still going down super late, still hadn't got back in that mech. So again, this is just a slow reset from Talon, unless someone like Hisang can go on an absolute tear. They get Merit and Proper both low. They're not quite able to make it stick, but they do get the wraparound on Finn. That's going to put O2 Blast under some serious pressure as Talon get those tanks straight in. Vigilante dead just before the Transcendence plus a res on Finn. Means O2 Blast at a straight man advantage. Now Talon still trying to make something happen in this fight.
Some power of the Valkyrie there coming online for Chio, the first ultimate for the supports before Talon really can get anything online. Ooh. FaZe can't ring mech here, but the minefields are, I think, from both teams actually all over that point. Talon Esports, they are still struggling to get this cap over finally at the 50% mark.
Yeah, but O2 Blast have exacted a heavy enough toll. In fact, Talon only really kills the 2 tanks, only just getting proper late in the mix here. But that is, of course, obviously, after Merit got a tidy headshot on Heesang and a late DMAC on Kane as well, means Talon's still not in a comfortable position, even as they now possess the point.
Well, they won't be able to snowball here, though, because they haven't reused too much tank ultimates, which are the rally coming on through as well. Now we're gearing up for the EMP. Finn has Transcendence available, so the hunt is on. Ardo needs to really mark his targets and find out where Finn's going to be playing from. Probably avoid Chio as well if possible. Talon, just deleted.
Yeah, right in the thick of it where he did not want to be, and no real support from him for him there. It's going to be Transcendence on the point now as O2 Blast do make their collapse, matching with their own Transcendence as Heesang is dispatched of. They may yet even up the percentage. No, they're going to fall a fair way short of that. Unfortunately, the kill's coming in too quickly by the hand of Proper.
And O2 Blast really needed to get a lot of frags during that time as well, because the Transcendence force on top of Finn, I believe that was the pulse bomb from Heesang that did the trick. And if O2 Blast can't win the fight then and there, Ardo is going to get that EMP across. No defense from O2 Blast at all. And that would have been the fight when you imagine for Talon Esports. So still now have that EMP. They're looking for that flip. Don't want to give O2 Blast too much headway in terms of that percentage mark.
Exactly. It's got to be the ace up the sleeve. As now they kind of make the move in. Proper looking to get the wraparound jungle as well with the slam down just to disrupt it. Oh! It gets stunned out. It gets stunned out by Chio. No EMP. An absolute disaster for Talon as they lose Kane's mech as well as we round the 90% mark here. O2 Blast, a straight man advantage, a self-destruct to reset phase when they need it. Vigilante under pressure and nothing else to bring to bear just yet for Talon. It's looking bad.
It's an incredible play coming out from Chio and O2 Blast, and they might just close it out now. 99% Talon still have plays available, but they don't have any way to deal with Proper. This guy just goes nuts too. Support's dead.
What a man, what a mighty man. O2 Blast, I mean, they were already at a man advantage with Kane only just getting back in the mech now for what it's worth, and then the 2 support kills. So the first one is 100 to 99, second one looking a little bit more lopsided, but ultimately looking the other way for O2 Blast. We're going to go the distance on Ilios.
Yeah, I mean, that EMP cancel from Chio was exactly what O2 Blast needed to just pull that map through. As otherwise, Talon, they were looking for an EMP opportunity. They couldn't play at the previous fight because, while Finn did pop the Transcendence, Ardo was waiting for the timing, and in that window of the Transcendence, Proper went off, got a couple of frags, and O2 Blast capitalized on that Transcendence advantage. The following fight was when Talon needed to pull the trigger, get something down big that was going to give them a fight win, give that cap back over towards, force maybe a double the 99, and then Ardo's EMP gets destroyed by Chio, and now we move on to the decider for Ruins. It's only first map, and we're already looking pretty good in terms of how both teams are playing.
It's the final rollout for Ilios. Love to see if Heesang can maybe start measuring up against Proper, who honestly was a bit of a shining beacon in that last matchup. There's a lot more of the mirrors coming in fact, a full mirror indeed. It is O2 Blast getting the slightly better end of the opening positioning now, kind of all areas around the point. Kellen is sitting duck, he's going to get drilled down. Proper's right on top of it. The outflank from Heesang, not quite enough to pressure phase. Instead, it's Kane going down, and that's O2 Blast. No doubt going to be getting this opening cap. Indeed, Proper nearly going down to the stun. Stays alive, though, and Vigilante going to be a casualty instead.
Look at the HP bars, O2 Blast. It's the finest of March. You've got both tanks on critical HP. Finn was taken down low as well. Proper survives on 7 HP, by the way. So, I mean, he takes down 2, including a mech, and O2 Blast, 0 trades going over. Talon could not really secure a kill there. Heesang actually does a bunch of damage. He's closer to the pulse bomb than Proper is. And Merit is definitely above Ardo, but not by too much. This could still be competitive as far as the EMPs go, but now that I say it, Merit is kind of outpacing Ardo just a bit more.
Heesang up with the pulse bomb. Ideally wants to pick up something with that. Proper has zone. Oh, Merit just gets nailed by Vigilante.
That's what Talon need.
That is exactly what they need. And now with a little bit more space to play, with the pressure being taken off their pulse bomb out, doesn't quite connect. But Ardo is first to the mark on the EMP, as you can expect from Merit being dead. Phase D-Mech, Finn with the Transcendence. So now as soon as that ends, the EMP is deployed, and it is an instant success. And Proper's pulse bomb getting et by Kane just for good measure. Very able by Kane indeed. Talon will be able to get the point flip.
Really important kill onto FaZe there. Just gets rid of the mech and O2 Blast. I think Finn was trying to save that mech. With that Transcendence, ends up coming in too late. And with the Transcendence gone this time, O2 Blast cannot pull the trigger early enough. They can't quite get the frags to keep them in and put Ardo away. Ardo gets the EMP he was looking for in that last sub-map, and he just gets everybody that you really want to be seeing.
Been going very quick on a minefield there. Chorong's in trouble because of it. Vigilante pops the Transcendence, but not in time to save his co-support, unfortunately. Merit dies to a mine! That's huge! That means the Transcendence being forcibly popped from Vigilante does not go as badly punished as it otherwise could have. Still Talon, they are a little bit on the back foot, having to claw their way back in. They fired proper, and that will help them in a big way. So now it's O2 Blast resetting after a tough start from Talon.
And now Chorong has that rally. I mean, he's had the rally for a while, but he'll be able to deploy that versus the EMP. Just needs to be able to use that in time when he suspects that Merit is going to strike. O2 Blaster, despite being a hidden percentage marker, they feel like they're really far behind. Manual hack with the Kane. That will probably stop the remake.
That's huge. That's really big. Hisang gets his pulse bomb eaten as well, and that self-destruct, I mean, it created a bit of space, but because that kill comes through, it's space that O2 Blast can immediately reoccupy. They have got the timing on the rally correct, but Vigilante is still in trouble. They've at least killed off Merit, but at this point, Talon look to be bleeding from the mouth. They need to pick up more kills than what they have so far. FaZe getting back in the mech there, unstopped. Hisang and Ardo are going to have to really start going off here. Kane is back in the mix, though, as Finn's down, and this could start flipping back the way of Talon once again, who I might add are still in possession of the point, so despite the good start for O2 Blast, they're not able to flip. Now they're in full retreat.
O2 Blast just can't keep their players alive right now. Chio's on critical HP. They lost Finn a little bit earlier. Could have been double supports down. That would have been lights out for sure. O2 Blast, they already had the reset, but they would have had the reset with more numbers down, more time wasted. Finn needs to desperately get this Transcendence up because Ardo's on the hunt. He's got an EMP available, and this could be the EMP that gives Talon map 1.
And they just want to get the drop on this. They do not want to let O2 Blast have the chance to go for the point. Still though, Finn will have that Transcendence available. That could be all they need. If Ardo doesn't go big with this, there we go, gets it on 3, but there is that Transcendence in response. So those members of O2 Blast staying alive despite immense pressure coming out. The rally running as well. Vigilante nearly on his own. Transcendence has to pop that now as Finn proper both low, clawing it in as they drop. He's sad. Now Kellen's in trouble. O2 Blast. It all goes so right towards the end. Proper does get his pulse bomb taken out by Kane and then loses his life to the man, but they have held on. They've kept the point.
That's been the one consistent thing that Talon had been able to do as far as shutting Proper down. Kane has eaten about 2 pulse bombs now from Proper on just Ruins. As O2 Blast, that Transcendence from Finn absolutely saves everybody. Watching Proper's HP go down to, critical, then back up to full multiple times over the course of that fight. And now Merit has an EMP advantage big time over Ardo, and also over the fact that Vigilante does not have a trans. Chorong has got to get this rally. That's going to be the only defense.
It's going to be a big one, though. The absolute difference. Oh, no. Never you mind that. Ardo is dead already. The CMP is looking to be absolutely devastating from Merit. They have that rally going at least, but Hisang's low. Chorong's low. They're struggling to get them topped off. They're still actually waiting for Ardo to come back. There's the EMP. It only gets the back 2 supports, though. Can they get the kills? They're going deep in on it, but that could be a mistake. Junbin trades his own life, as does Proper. Yeah, they killed Vigilante, but at what cost? Merit's the only DPS now. He is superbly low, is telling it to flip back over. Double 99 it's even, a flat man advantage to Talon. They get, they don't get FaZe back in the mech. That's probably the writing on the wall. In fact, I would say definitely the writing on the wall as the supports drop. What a turnaround from Talon at the 11th hour.
My goodness, Chio might have got an EMP cancelled to Ardo for Lighthouse, but Chio just popped off. A Chorong rather just popped off. I'm like talking about the wrong player right now. Chio did pop off on Lighthouse, but it's Chorong on Talon Esports with multiple kills, including one at the beginning of that last fight onto Proper. That is what gets the ball rolling for Talon Esports. He keeps on going, gets a number of frags there, has the early rally timing as well, gets FaZe and Finn. And Talon Esports, off the back of Chorong, have just completely annihilated O2 Blast in that final fight. Deletes FaZe, by the way, while he was going to go for the remake. So, I mean, when I say that there really is this kind of best-in-slot player on both teams, Chorong is that guy for Talon Esports, 100%.
For sure. Yeah, in a huge way. What an opening map. And look, if you really wondered why we were hyping up this grand final so much, maybe you've been, I don't know, living in a cave for the last year and a half. now you know. Now you know why we're so thrilled by it. Because look at how close that was. Look at how microcosmic those differences were. So much of this, you know, when the macro is clean enough, so much of this really just comes down to who gets the exquisite micro play in all of these instances. And it's, you know, it can be big, exciting things like canceling an EMP. It can be tiny little things like eating a pulse bomb, like getting a good stun on a wrecking ball. It could be all kinds of tiny little things. It is going to be a series of inches, and Talon take the first tiny step. And with that, we're going to take a little bit of a breather before we set up for map 2. So hang tight, don't go anywhere as we continue these grand finals in a moment. Welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us through that slightly extended break. Obviously, we are aware of the quality issues right now. We are looking to get that resolved, hence the little bit of extra time there. That all being said, I kind of want to bring our attention back to where it ought to be, which is on the series at hand, which has already started explosively. And we both kind of predicted at the outset, we reckon we're gonna see a long series. We're gonna go deep into that best of 7, that first of 4 layout. I expected, a map 6 and beyond kind of situation. So as much as this first one's gone the way of Talon, I very much expect that we'll go back and forth, and obviously it's O2 Blast who gets the next map pick as well.
And it's tight margins as well. I mean, we're looking at a situation where the final round at Ilios, the final fight there, could have gone either way. Chorong doesn't pop off, then we're looking at a different story. Extra credit being given to Kane as well for really dealing with proper. I think that was a bit of an issue for Talon Esports on Lighthouse specifically, with Kane putting a lot more presence of defense matrix and just pressure on top of O2 star player. That really minimized the damage that Proper can do, and even with that, Proper was doing quite a lot. So with O2 Blast picking the map now, they get the assault map pick, and we sort of get into this map selection strategy that I was talking about pre-game as well, where if O2 do win this map and Talon get map pick for number 3, which is hybrid, they can take us somewhere like Numbani, where Talon can go on top of that Winston again.
Exactly. It's all a lot of potentiates in the near future in terms of those map pick options. Obviously, we're seeing the substitution. This is Max coming in over phase, and the off-tank role there. And it does just change up their particular options as well moving forward for this assault map. Wouldn't be surprised if we're going to be looking at something like a Volskaya. Tends to be the map of choice for most teams right now, but we do see the odd Hanamura.
And Dime coming in for Chio as well. This is the expectation for O2 Blast. Typically after a map 2, they will swap out 2 of their 3 runaway members, if not all 3. Sometimes Merit does go out for Kilo as well, but depending on the map, it might be better to keep Merit in based on specific hero pools. Obviously, this current meta is not the most fantastic for a hard hit scan specialist player of Kilo. If you were wanting to bring in something like an Ashe for an extended period of time, Kilo's your guy, 100%. But right now, that looks like the extent of all of our substitutions. So just the 2 there for O2 Blast and Volskaya. It's going to be map number 2.
There you have it. No major surprises there. It does mean with that off-tank substitution, likely to be seeing things like the Sigma coming in as an option. Does tend to be one that we get a reasonable amount of on Volskaya. I'm a Sigma fan. I like a Sigma. No two ways about that. I'm a fan. What can I say? I like to project my own personality onto the in-game heroes, just as Sigma likes to project Arians.
So we'll see if Talon Esports, or actually it's O2 Blast, so play that last of Rissa team composition if they will want to be going over towards a double shield for either side here. That will probably take Proper off the Tracer, so looking over towards Talon, they most likely will be playing Dive, possibly going to be the ball Sigma. We look over towards O2 Blast, could be matching that. Otherwise, a shield composition might be up for grabs as well for O2.
I'm really feeling this music. Sorry, I got distracted for a second there because I was just absolutely jamming. This is some killer tunes, man. It feels like break music almost. It feels like interlude music. At any rate, the interlude is over. Back to the main event. Time for the rollout on Volskaya.
Alright, so Merit going over towards a potential of an Ashe, and kind of as expected, it will be Ball Sigma for the Talon side of things. Ardo starting out on the Ashe hit scan as well. That's something, again, that Ardo has picked up more recently for this season. He's been more a projectile player, known for the Genji. Started playing quite a bit more of that Sombra. Now, I have to face up against Merit on that Ashe, and it wasn't that long ago, I think, back over towards Season 1 of 2020 when it was Merit versus Proper on that Ashe mirror. Now, is that going to be jumping? No, he'll be fine. I thought maybe he could go off the map, but he'll be okay.
Can't say the same for Vindame. Yeah, I kind of wanted to interrupt you there as well, because before we get really into this, I just heard something that I have not heard for a very, very long time, and that was the team chants in the stadium.
We literally heard that map once, so if a long time is about 20 minutes, then sure.
I feel like that wasn't a very constructive response.
That's, well...
Talon, though, one man.
The rest of them will be.
O2 Blast, they've got the respawn now, still just looking to get into position.
I'll take it down Merit
just
straight
as
away.
It happens as well. There we go. It's at least a trade-off, but O2 Blast without Merit, we're going to struggle to exert that counter pressure. Ardo, nope, he goes down. They end up finding Kane, and Ardo goes a little bit too far forward. Just, you know, dollar bills in the eyes. There was some low health members on O2 Blast in front of him. They're at least clawing this one back off the back of Heesang and Kellen. That brings it to net neutral, but O2 Blast have the closer respawn.
I'm telling Esports they have ultimates online first and foremost. O2 Blast trailing just a little bit further behind. Well, not in all regards. You've got Finn that's nearly on Transcendence. They're about to get a tick here. Unimpeded Talon trying to get their members back in towards action. They have got their 6 yet, maybe, question mark. They're definitely allowing too much of a free cap to happen right now for O2 Blast, who will get their second tick.
It's still Talon just kind of waiting for the full rack of respawns to get back into position. Here we go. Kellen's going now, gets the bump up, but Ardo's already dead with the wrap around, and Prop hunting immediately another one with the pulse bomb as well. I mean, you know, they put on the show the defense that is the correct thing to do, but O2 Blast, they have it read like a book. They are well in position. 2 minutes on the clock as they cap a plenty of time now for B.
See if they can snowball off this as well. They'll have 4 ultimates going on for B. Talon Esports have a couple of things coming online themselves as well. Vigilante looking over towards Transcendence. O2 Blast. Time is of the essence here, just under 5 minutes. Minefield comes on through. Already on that point. Talon yet to respond.
Least to have that running. It's going to be matched now by Vindame. Max with the flux. What goes up must come down. Chong being the first actual casualty of the fight, and now the pressure further onward. Despite the Transcendence, they still lose 2, and not a trade in sight just yet. Still the ultimates available for O2 Blast. It's proper found Kane as well. The Bob dispatches of Kellen. I think this is going to be a pretty clean and concise cap here for O2 Blast. Looks to be about 4 minutes plus on the clock here, unless some kind of miracle comes out of Heesang. No such luck. 4:13 is the time.
Play patiently, wait for the Transcendence to go away there. 2 went down, by the way, while the Transcendence was trying to come on through. Talon were trying to rely on that rally from Tron to keep them up. With Tron going down and Vigilante not quite getting the Transcendence in time, there was a bit of a gap of, I'd say, 1.5 to 2 seconds. It doesn't sound like a lot, but just within that small window, O2 Blast can get kills. Prophet gets about 2 there. Gets the pulse bomb stick into there as well. I don't think it got the kill, but the rest of the players on O2 Blast certainly will clean it up, and that's going to be, above 4 minute time back. 4:13 is what we end with.
It's pretty astounding stuff, I've got to say. And now Talon, after what would be, I guess you could say, I don't know that I would call it a lackluster defense as much as I'd just call it a phenomenal offense, but at the very least they'll need to match that with a phenomenal offense of their own, and then maybe in a time bank situation they will have an opportunity to readdress their own defense.
See if there's any changes on that lineup. Doesn't look like it so far. Both teams sticking to exact same comps. Will once again be a complete mirror. And 4:13 is going to be tough for Talon Esports. We'll see how well they do on their A attack, and yeah, I mean, that is the most telling thing. O2 Blast, they kind of failed the first attempt, but they came back and, you know, without too much pressure, got like a couple of points.
And the time now is the enemy. 4:13. They're gonna have to find some way to match it. There was a little bit of slowdown early from O2 Blast on their attack, just because a couple of members did die earlier, notably Vindame. So I was gonna say, if Talon can avoid that, then they may yet be able to get a better time just from the outset. But unfortunately, Heesang just gets blazed in the head by some flying robot spheres, I guess, orbs.
Just excuse the technical difficulties there. We'll be back in the game very shortly. It happens, guys. We're on land for the first time in what feels like years, or at least quite a while anyway. O2 Blast are still defending against Talon Esports. We'll find out exactly what's happening as... Did anything really change? It's been about 45-ish kind of seconds so far. And no real progress to Talon just yet. Ultimate's still quite low on both ends.
It looks like the main change has been the quality. It looks like we've maybe got a little bit of progress on that, so that's all good stuff. Should be just that little bit easier to catch all the action now as Talon are making that first push towards the point, but Kellen and Heesang taking a shellacking, the former falling as well to the guns of Proper, and this is now a reasonable amount of time lost. Talon are going to have to reset again, may yet lose more people if they aren't able to pull out in time. There we go, they are going to be able to escape, but even so, only about 2:30 on the clock.
We'll struggle on A so far. Not much to work through. I mean, this is where Max will pop down that first Flux. Kane can't respond. Vigilante's going to have to set the trance just for it. And it looks like Talon won't be looking for any sort of rotations. Already that combo is going to come on through, or rather just the counter for the Transcendence on towards that Flux.
Tried to use the Transcendence to be on the point, but I mean, they've got merit out of it at least, but it's been a little bit halting. There we go, getting some better headway now, but even so, Proper pays it back twice. He was super low. He is still going to go down, but Heesang's having to put in so much extra work just for the team to stay on top of this fight. Weren't quite able to get the finish off on Junbin. They have the closer respawn, so that should come into their favor here, but O2 Blast no doubt will go for another defense here.
It wasn't looking great for O2 Blast there. They lost 2, no response, and then Proper just taxed them with a couple of kills back, and that actually slows down Talon Esports enough that maybe O2 can absolutely come back and contest. You can see that most of the team's already back now. Finn frags Chorong. It's already a 6v5.
This is not what Talon wanted to see. They wanted a cleaner, more concise cut off to that last fight. Instead, it becomes a messy brawl. They don't get enough done on the point, don't even get that second tick before O2 Blast come back in and just slap them straight back off.
Now we're bound down to, what, nearly 1 minute. It's about a minute 15 remaining. Most of the good ultimates are gone. Bob is going to be required for this next push just to put some pressure on that actual objective itself. Heesang going all the way back into O2 spawn, potentially looking for a spawn camp, but not in a 1 versus 2. He'll be keeping Junbin busy, if anything, and I don't really know who wins out of this trade. O2 Blast don't have their tank connection, but Talon don't have their main DPS.
This is a really bizarre little situation, and the thing is, Junbin moves faster than Heesang anyway, so as soon as the team decides it's time to go for the point, O2 Blast are going to be able to get there even quicker. But here we go, now the pressure coming in. You've got Kellen looking to back up on the wraparound to take out Junbin, who does go straight in onto the point. Kellen low goes down to Merit on the flank. They've traded for Max. That's something the Farb as well dealt with, so Talon not exactly where they want to be, but as they find Merit, they pop their Transcendence, which rescues a couple of members. Finn does have his own running. Not enough to save Proper. Goes down to his own pulse bomb. You'll call that a kill. He does at least get one, but not the kind of one you want. Junbin popping the popping the slime down off to the side. Finn's dead. Junbin will at least knock over Vigilante, but it is a man advantage to Talon, who are set up on the point. Should just be able to finish it off here. Much more close to the wire than I think they wanted, and no hope of matching O2 Blast's time either.
I'm pretty sure Kane, the pulse bomb was stuck on Kane's shield, and what Kane does, he just pushes the shield further and further forward into Proper, and that's how he ends up killing himself, as Talon Esports will eventually get across the line now with Proper gone and the rest of O2 Blast falling as well. No chance to use that Gravitic Flux in that fight. It's 2 minutes 45 though for Talon Esports, so we're not expecting a big time back here. Just looking to see if they can cap at all, but ideally above 1 minute so that we can avoid a draw-only scenario for Talon.
That's really the game they're playing now. And time is extremely short for it. If they can live through this Gravitic Flux, and that's already a good start. There goes the slam down. They're getting topped off that extra bit by the rally. Kellen goes in with the minefield. Already brought a little bit low, and they haven't really got the pressure on the actual members of O2 Blast who have set up this kill box. Merit nearly having a Bob as well. Heesang finally getting set up on this ground. Looking to get the wraparound on Max, who has, there we go, the orb on him. Discord orb is now the fight getting taken to the point. Trade for Kane, but Junbin's down. Closer respawn, no doubt, for O2 Blast. It is a big shame. And they lose Heesang, their only other ultimate as well. I was about to say a shame to lose the Gravitic Flux, but they also lose the Pulse Bomb opportunity, and now Talon are going to have to get forced back.
Reset there as they've not too many members off, and Talon Esports working on enough ultimates, a critical mass to get them across the line. 4B again, that 1 minute target, only about 45 seconds after they're trying to hit that target. They need to go fairly quickly, I would say right now, ideally. Otherwise, we're just playing for a cap, any cap in the OT, and that will give them the time back, but it's not going to be pretty. It'll be a full A defense versus O2 Blast 4 minute 13 time back to cap only 1/3, and Talon Esports have 4 ultimates where O2 Blast currently only have 2.
This is going to be a real tight one. Absolutely down to the wires. O2 Blast, the pulse bomb does go wide from Proper, well wide. In fact, the minefield's not even in a great position either. Kane doesn't get too much done with the Gravitic Flux, but they've found Finn. Kane stays alive here, rescued as well by the Transcendence. So now Talon is set up on the point. This is where they want to be. They don't quite have an overwhelming advantage, though. Junbin was able to squeak away to safety. O2 Blast have the rack of respawns coming in. It's going 59. To be a 6v6 brawl, with the ultimate starting to come up now for O2 Blast. First, the rally. Chorong nearly has his own. Will be able to pop it, but not in time to save Heesang. Vigilante down as well. Once again, Merit and Proper just going off, absolutely delivering for this team. 40 seconds now on the board. It's not all over just yet for Talon. They can come in maybe one last time, but it's surely going to be down to the wire.
Kellen's got to reset as fast as he can, just kind of feeding a little bit longer there, staggering his own life in a situation where it's time sensitive for Talon Esports, and forget about even going towards any sort of time bank scenario as a cap is concerned. They have to cap now, just straight up. There's 20 seconds left to go. Vigilante still respawning, and Talon can't waste any more of this. They simply must go towards the point itself, up against O2, who nearly have 5 ults.
This is about as bad a situation as it can get for Talon. This map has been an O2 blast fest as now they make their final approach. Just 5 seconds on the clock. They're going to have to go for it. Kellen right on in. Will drop the mines down. Secure that overtime. He finds Junbin. That's a promising start. Here's the Gravitic Flux. See what that finds for them. They will get Kellen and Kane both. One to the Bob, the other to the Flux. And that's going to be no presence left on the point, unfortunately, for Talon.
Strong performance from O2 Blast. Dominance being displayed on that opening attack phase, 4-13. Similar dominance being displayed on that defense. Okay, they're not going to hold A, but most teams don't. The B defense, though, pretty stellar. They gave away, what, a couple of ticks? If even that. In fact, no, did they give away anything? I'm not even too sure. The point is, though, yeah, okay, 2 ticks, 87.3. So Talon got close enough, but that last third evading them with O2 Blast, clutching on through, proper respawning, deleting Talon, forcing them back. Last 30 seconds remaining, and Vigilante goes down again. 5v6. Talon Esports have to wait for the last member to come on through, and there just is so little time to play with if you're Talon Esports. And had they had gotten the cap anyway, we're looking at, again, a time bank scenario that is a draw only for Talon Esports, and O2 Blast have over 4 minutes to work with to win that map.
And one does imagine that with a second go around, you know, even with an imbalance on the clock there, it would have been possible for Talon to just shape up a bit on that defense, because it wasn't enough. It wasn't anywhere near enough on that initial phase, and they just never brought themselves that opportunity. So, you know, it's too far down the thread of what if for us to even really consider what the closeness might have looked like. But there is another sort of meta closeness now, as the series is tied up 1-1. This is why we say we are expecting a close and drawn out series. That being said, that one was certainly more one-sided in favor of O2 Blast than what Control was for Talon.
Yeah, I think you look at Control for Ilios, could have gone either way. Competitive series, you had a 0-99 comeback for Talon Esports on that first Control submap as well. Lighthouse was a little bit more dominating coming through from the O2 side of things, especially with Chio's EMP cancel on top of Ardo, and then Ruins was neck and neck right up until the last point. You look at this map, definitely a lot more O2 dominated, but it does play into the storyline and the strategy of how map picks will go that I kind of outlined before we got even into map number 1, as now we're looking at map number 3. It will be hybrid, and look at the hybrid choice between Kings, Iconvolda, and Numbani. If I'm Talon, it's probably going to be Numbani just to get Kellen on that Winston again.
Exactly, seems to be the most likely outcome, and also where they can, you know, put another one on the board, just bring themselves ever closer to a potential for maps 1. It's going to be a little bit of a long road, though. No team particularly close right now. Indeed, one could even argue that all we've done is change it out to be a best of 3, or first of 3 rather, with that one map now either way. Even so, evened up as the series. Will be coming back with whatever Talon's map pick is on that hybrid right after this break. Welcome back then to what is already shaping up to be the nail-bitingly close series that we were hoping, though one could argue Assault wasn't quite as close as what Control was. Obviously, the 4-minute 13 time bank for O2 Blast compared to the not quite B cap for Talon. Not exactly an even affair, all things considered, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually what we have. We have a little bit more back and forth where it kind of looks more one way than the other, depending on the map pick, the game mode, and all those other things. And well, speaking of map pick, obviously we now go to Talon's map pick, which means wouldn't be surprised if we see the exact same thing in reverse now.
And that's the thing about, you know, the map pick format, where you are going to get closer series, you're going to have teams going to their preferred maps, and the order in which they do that is going to be quite important as well. It definitely matters more when you have two kind of mismatched teams as far as styles go. When you have two teams of similar enough style, like we've actually seen plenty of mirror composition so far. The only time we've seen the two teams almost not directly mirror each other is on that opening well. We had, what, a Orisa Echo kind of composition versus the standard ball dive coming through from Talon Esports. Since then, it's been pretty much exactly the same across the board. So both teams are probably going to be happy with no matter what map comes up. They should all be pretty prepared. The only thing that will be a bit of a difference maker for me is, again, having maps we can put Kellen on that Winston, and I don't know that Jimbin will be able to match that. That's going to be the test for O2 Blast, and that is going to be one of the areas where Talon will be looking to diff O2 Blast the hardest. They can already show that Chorong can be that main support that outplays Chio. Now they want to show as well that Kellen can be that guy that outplays Jihoon as well. Not Jihoon, Jimbin. Jihoon's a different guy.
He is a different guy, yeah. The other thing I think we'll also see as well, look, in general, I've got to be completely blunt. I do feel like O2 Blast's DPSs have managed to get the better end of the deal a lot of the time. That isn't to say that, you know, the likes of Hisang has been invisible. Very far from it. It's more that he just hasn't quite been able to get as much done as his counterpart in proper, especially on that Tracer Mirror matchup that we've been seeing. But as is always the case, a lot of that is down to the tanks as well. So if we're in a situation where we can start seeing the power of tank balance shift towards Talon, I expect we will see the power of DPS balance shift in turn. We'll probably see a lot more of those huge streaks across the board and kills from Hisang that we're used to seeing.
And then beyond that as well, we have the escort map choices. That could be a bit of a change-up as well, depending on who wins that one. I can definitely see a team like O2 Blast, if they do lose Numbani, take us to a Havana. They can bring up more Orisa-based compositions. We'll see if Talon want to play that at all. You have Kellen, that's been far more well-known to be playing dive tanks. Winston, in particular, definitely the best Winston in all Korea. Best primal mechanics. The primal blade is within him. Ball's also really good. Orisa not quite as well known for his hero pool. As we take a look at substitutions, it's just Chio coming back in for Vindime, and it looks like the rest remains.
All pretty expectable. And as you were remarking about the main support situation, the advantage that Chorong has been bringing to the table there, and naturally we are on Numbani. And so all we were talking about with regard to tank lineups and what we're likely to see out of Kellen comes to pass. I'm also interested to see potentially, this is more just a specific thing, but Numbani, we've not seen a whole lot of C point. We've actually seen more and more holds on B on Numbani of late, and it has been a particularly popular map that a lot of the teams have picked up.
I will say that the majority of defenses are still on either A or C, but the increase in B holds has been notable for sure. And that is, I think, due to the fact that you just have faster and faster gameplay tempo as far as compositions goes as well. So here it is. Map number 3 of the Grand Finals. No second day of Grand Finals. No one map tiebreakers. It all has to end today. There's only going to be one team, one champion. And Barney up on your stage now. Up on the screens. It's going to be Talon Esports attacking first. Double bubble with the Nan onto Kellen is going to be the obvious strat. Max, Finn. They'll be doing the exact same thing on the other end, but it's got to be proper back towards the Echo. And actually, I think this is a very reasonable choice, because there is a non-zero chance that attacking teams can and sometimes do play that fire. We know Ardo's definitely shown a lot of that fire this year, so proper going the Echo early is just kind of, it's going to keep the fire potential in check, as well as provide the opportunity to burn down Kellen.
Absolutely well. Meanwhile, Talon not opting into that Farah. We'll have to see how well that Sombra charge comes through for Ardo as well. Just a little bit of early harass from Junbin, all pretty expected. As Talon set themselves up to take the various high grounds. There's going to be some good pressure onto Talon. He needs to be a little bit more conservative.
Both teams just farming up at the moment. You have to really pay attention to Proper's damages. Before that even happens, Finn drops a pretty decent Bionet into the back line of Talon Esports just to force them backwards, and while that's happening, Jimbo will take a bit of an opportunity to go forward himself.
He's saying as well, just getting a little bit of harass in, just barely leading Merit in ult charge, not by much though. And speaking of leading ult charge, Vigilante's still actually leading Finn. Again, not by much, but that slightly earlier nano boost delivered onto Kellen could be a good difference maker for them. Kellen as well, doing a good job farming up his own ultimate.
Max is struggling to get any decent amount of energy here. Heesang survives on something like 9 HP and Kellen gets drilled down. So that's what we're talking about. Proper on this Echo, one of the key things you can do is definitely take down the main tank quite fast.
And that could nearly have been a nano boost into the rescue there. They did have that available. Instead, now O2 Blast will have time to pull back, reset, build up some more ultimates aside from just the nano boost. Talon obviously building towards some of their own, but would have otherwise had a lead that O2 Blast could yet make up.
O2 Blast were close enough, but this is just going to secure it now where they have the ultimates required. Ardo's going to be very far behind. Here comes the nano finally.
Kellen does have the Primal Rage available, but not really up on that high ground just yet. It's been a little bit slow going. There we go. They're able to dispatch a Finn. That's the opening they need. Now they look to get aggressive. Ideally can get some kills in before the rest come through for O2 Blast. These ultimates max.
It's not a bad grab, actually.
He lives an incredibly long time, and it ends up being a 2-for-1 for O2 Blast. They lost Finn earlier, but closer respawn now as Junbin also finds Chorog, his own Primal Rage, going absolutely off as Talon are caught up in some tight spaces. Meanwhile, Talon just getting so little accomplished there.
That was actually one of the most intelligent solo grabs I've ever seen. Usually those remain. Usually you look at that and say, Max, what are you doing? This is a waste of a grab. He's completely beefed it. But what he does is he locks up Kellen, who's trying to go for a kill on towards Max. While that grab is locking down Kellen, you have them proper coming with the alley-oop. He dunks on him with that, the focusing beam just completely melting him down, and then Max takes a health bite. I think he still dies to Ardo eventually, but he saves his own life for a long period of time. Bionet dropping onto 2.
That is a decent one, but the grab going to come out straight up onto the high ground, and there's the dive. There we go. Much more successful from the outset here. Just a straight advantage. Proper with the duplicated Winston. At least keeps some tank presence in the mix, but without Merit there. And look at how quickly he gets drilled down. Doesn't even get a chance to pop the duplicated Primal Rage. And maybe for the best, O2 Blast will have a quicker reset here. They have resoundingly lost the A point.
That's what Talon needed. Grab into Kellen jumping up, and they don't have to spend that much. I mean, still have the nano available. Didn't even have to go for grab. Pulse there. EMP's up for the next fight. There's no defenses versus the EMP. Proper and Merit especially will be prime targets for that. Chio's going to need some more magic. He was able to bash Ardo out of an EMP on our first map. He'll need to do something similar because otherwise Talon Esports looking for a big snowball. The only thing that holds him back is the payload progression is still pretty slow.
Ooh, Kane really taking a pummeling, even getting the pulse bomb stick, and now he's saying down. So even as Kellen gets aggressive with this nanoed up Primal Rage, they don't have the extra tool, the extra string in the bow in the form of Heesang to help confirm some of the members he might get low. Talon lose 3 members there for absolutely no gain and 2 ultimates expended.
Well, the gain they get is they kind of just get past the pedestrian crossing on that first corner, and that's not enough. Ideally, they would have had the second corner locked up by now. They're going past that Sigma building. They're only on the outside of Atria, which is just, again, the payload distance was the biggest critical factor for Talon. I don't mind the forward hold, but they need to be able to buy more time than that. They need to be able to slow down Ultra Blast harder than that. They burn a Primal Rage for it, now they're on the back foot.
Yeah, really not a great situation for them to be in, but all it takes is just for something to pop off, a good combo of abilities. We saw them win pretty resoundingly on A. With really just the grab into a clean dive from Kellen. Get to see the same thing with the CMP from Ardo. Oh, it's proper just snipes
solo.
out. He's saying Ardo may yet try and go for this one. And in fact, with Merit dead, there's a reasonable argument to do so. Good sleep onto Kellen. He's very low under a lot of pressure. The nano boost gets delivered onto Kane instead as Vigilante does die. They find Proper out as well, and with that EMP, they're going to be able to dispatch of Junbin before he's able to primal. And obviously no nano from Finn either. He also was caught out by that EMP, followed by a manual hack, and that ends up being enough for Talon. It's not the most comfortable of starts, but it's a resounding enough end that they should get a lot of cart room.
It's a 4-man EMP when there's only 5 players available. I think Chio was the only one that wasn't EMP'd. Merit was down, obviously. Proper, no opportunity going to duplicate form. Jimbin cannot use Primal. I believe Max popped in the grab somewhere. Didn't quite get to see where on screen, but with the EMP follow-up from Ardo, Ultrablast could not do anything with that grab. And now Proper's looking for grab number 2.
This could be... It's a good sleep on Junbin, actually. Merit finds one with a pulse bomb. The counter pulse is decent. Forces Proper back out of the duplicate and kills Merit. Some trades coming through, but it's favoring Talon in a very significant way. Good sleep on Kellen. Just keeps that at bay a little bit more, but with Proper dead, we should be able to secure the cap hack on Finn as well. I think Junbin may Primal Rage here, but I honestly don't think he should. It feels like it's potentially a bit of a waste unless they really think they're going to bait out more ultimates, but there are no more ultimates to bait out anyway as Talon get the cap, get the kills, and they're looking towards C now.
That was a rally cancel on Chio as well, so O2 Blast just unfortunately weren't able to survive any more longer than I think an extended rally would have brought them further in towards the fight. Obviously Proper getting that grab was helpful, but Heesang really did the most as we look over towards point C. So no B-hold for what it's worth. Zardo's looking towards the EMP now. Nano about to be available. We put on towards Kellen. O2 Blast, they're just behind. They probably need to just go for a dry fight here. Possibly use their Primal. Solo EMP on Chio.
Right into the back line. It's a bit ballsy. They don't actually get Chio. They do at least find Merit, but that's not the most high-value EMP in the world. It does keep O2 Blast severely at bay, but look at that. The wraparound is doing a lot of work against Arda, who does manage to kill off Junbin. That's really big now. They can heal up both these DPSs, keep the push forward without that counter dive pressure. That was also Junbin's Primal Rage. I might add the Nano has to go onto Max instead, who is nearly there on a grab, but Talon just back up. They respect it. They respect the charge. The Nano, the grab, as soon as that expires, they're going to push straight back in.
Don't mind the Nano and Max's at all. I mean, he was reasonably high-ish charge. I believe he was nearly 60-ish kind of energy. It's okay. It's above 50. We'll take that.
You'll take
but
it,
most importantly, it's the extra 50% damage boost plus the damage reduction, pushing him forward, allowing Ultra Blast to walk up, and now the grab following through. Kane with the counter grab.
Okay, he does at least get his own grab off, but they need to actually finish off those tanks for that to really count for much. Kellen dies 5% away from a Primal. Nano Boost ends up on Chorong as they try and go for a final push across the line, but I don't think they've got the critical mass of kills, especially with Chio having the rally running. Even as they're picking up the extra few here and there, it's probably not going to be enough to sustain themselves on the point. Even with Kane coming in on a wrecking ball, it's going to be Talon having to reset. And that was really unfortunate. They rolled the dice, tried to see if Kane could live through Max's grab. And when it was clear that he couldn't, he threw out a grab of his own, did catch both tanks, but they just couldn't get the kills quickly.
No, I mean, Kane dies during his grab for what it's worth, and he kind of puts it out there posthumously. Chorong tries to extend the fight with the rally coming on through, and I think during the actual rally itself, Talon have a fair opportunity, but once the rally is gone, they know the writing's on the wall. They back out, save what ultimates they can. Now they get to play for what EMP, Pulse, and Primal. It's the only 3 they've got, and they got to make it work.
It's not too bad either. They've at least found Finn, but can they get the kills? That's a dead eye, and there we go. Kellen's going to be able to live through that one, but the Primal still takes a chunk, but Junbin down is big. Pulse Bomb doesn't quite get the connection that Heesang wanted, but they are in a bit of a leg up here. Finn is going to be able to get his Nano Boost off onto Merit. Going to be able to be some kills coming through. Proper down in the trade. That's big fighting. Heesang. It's just Ardo and Kane having to bear the brunt of it. Nano nearly there from Vigilante. Doesn't quite get it to Kane in time. You'd have to give it and send to Chorong, in fact. And I don't think it's going to be enough manpower left on the point for Talon. Unfortunately, just enough for O2 Blast to hold on right towards the end. They prevent the C cap, but that is still a lot of card distance for Talon. If they can have a solid enough defense, they should feel very comfortable with that distance.
It's respectable. It's respectable in the sense that, you know, we're going the full distance potentially in terms of this map. We're not going to the time bank, so I guess not the full distance as far as what Nabani can offer, but we're going to the end of C. Beyond that, though, the only counterpoint I'd add is that looking at Assault, this doesn't look too much different from where we were for Volskaya, where, what was it again? 89% was what Talon camped on Volskaya, but they failed to complete the final point. I know O2 rolled through quite comfortably. I don't know that they'll roll through comfortably here because as far as escort-based maps goes, and that includes hybrid for the second and third parts, you are going to be kind of at the mercy of how quickly you can push that payload. So there's going to be a lot of fights forced, and a Talon can slow things down significantly, especially on A, which we do commonly still do see full holds. Talon can take the map based on that.
Absolutely, they can. I wouldn't be surprised if we get exactly that situation, in fact, and Ardo going to be starting on the Ash here as well. There'll be some nice pressure onto Proper, assuming he does commit to the Echo here. This is very much a good look for Talon. Obviously, Kellen and Winston
have the auto hit scan on the defense with the Ash. So, I mean, I will see if Proper can really get too much done here. There's not going to be a lot of hard pocketing. Finn's primary heal target is going to be on the tank, specifically Jimbin, which leaves Chio to just throw packs towards Proper every now and then. Vigilante, by the way, landing a 2-man Bionic at the start actually gives a little bit of ult charge as well.
Yeah, he had about a 15% advantage. Obviously, Finn with the attacking side is going to be able to make up that difference without too much issue. So going for another quick dive with Jumbin. Max is in a lot of trouble. Could actually go down here if they're not careful about it. Has to start backing away. That's going to give Finn a significant amount of ult charge, though. So given the O2 Blast don't lose anyone, that is a net benefit.
And you see that Jimbin, as soon as he takes the brunt of the damage as well, receives the bubble from Max, which, you know, will allow Jimbin to stay alive, give Finn the ult charge, and also give Max a bit of much-needed energy. Is okay, Ardo's okay. Surely Ardo's okay. Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll get a Bionade from his ally, which is actually not ideal. Vigilante would love to throw his Bionades offensively instead.
You betcha he would. He's nearly got that ult charge as well, and just that one extra Bionade would have been the difference. Instead, Junbin gets his nano first, straight onto the backline of Ardo, and has taken him out before the sleep landed. Here we go. Now it's on to Kane. He's got good charge, and he's nearly got a grab as well, but he's slapped. They're just not getting much now. Bionade, and he's dead before he can grab. That's huge from O2 Blast. Really nice timing there from Finn, knowing exactly that they're going to wake him up, sleep him immediately. Really slick stuff. Even with Max left, it's not the same kind of counter pressure. Proper unbounded in the skies due to that early kill on Ardo, who is sort of alive back in the mix, but not in any position to contest it. And that is an excellent time for O2 Blast.
It's technically a one attempt. It's a long one attempt, but they got a lot of time to work through for B now, as both teams actually nullified each other's respective nano boosts. You saw Jimbin getting slipped pretty much straight away. Kane receives a nano because he was on critical HP. Ideally, Vigilante pops nano into Kellen instead, so they can actually dive the back line. Kane gets woken up from the sleep, is hacked immediately, bionaded, and then killed. Finally, the grab's going to come through, and Kane might be in trouble again.
Oh, he's in big trouble. Kellen as well as O2 Blast. They're just going to keep huge momentum here. Shong dives himself forward just to slow things down that little bit more, by the other members' time to escape without dying, so they can maybe reset and still go for a B defense.
Been a more successful attack by various regards from O2 Blast compared to Talon's attack so far. We've had a one attempt on towards A. We've got a lot of good payload distance now on B. I mean, look at it. We're nearly at the second bend of the Axiom building. And Talon Esports still waiting for opportunity to go into play. They have about 5 ultimates, though, so they should win this fight if they can dodge the EMP.
You'd certainly think so. O2 Blast looking threatening. Oh, it's an early kill on Heesang as well. It's already a heartbreaker. Proper person to duplicate. And they just take priority on the fight. They go straight in for it before Talon can do anything. O2 Blast are just dictating the entire pace of the game, and Talon are barely able to get meaningful ultimate usages off. Now Kellen, it's going to take a long time to die. The B cap's going to come over. Wow. Lots of forward pressure already on C for O2 Blast.
And this is what I'm saying. It does remind me of Volsky. And I was saying that when you had Talon Esports capping that, B point and going over towards C, kind of faltering, they just ran out of time here. O2 Blast, it's an embarrassment of time. They have so much. They have nearly 5 minutes to go, and Kane has been under that pressure this entire time as well. He hasn't been able to get this one grab. He's had the same grab since A, but he's been constantly EMP, constantly hacked.
The forward pressure is just immense. Finally, the counter pressure from Talon starts to force O2 Blast back, but look at what it costs them. Look at how much work they have to put in just to stop the cart on this curve on the C approach. This is important. This buys them the opportunity now to potentially still hold out on C. That is very much a real possibility, but I mean, this is a tough defense for Talon.
Proper was thinking about the Widow for a second there, as he was maybe thinking just get back to the point in time, help the players. For anyone that isn't aware, at one point Proper was one of the best Widows in Korea as well for Contenders Korea, and he's usually a flex player, but his hit scans are also equally nutty. He's on the Tracer now, which means a bit of a scary moment for Talon Esports. Now on to Kane, let's see what he can do.
We're just going to have to try and get something happening. Ardo's manually hacked out, goes down. That's a heartbreaker. Nearly outlived that hack as well. Instead, Chorong now bionaded. Heesang pulse bomb goes out, goes wide. Heesang takes a bit of a beating. Doesn't make it out alive as Finn finds the kill on that one. Now Kane and Vigilante low dead to right.
3-0.
O2 Blast. I mean, they're just on an absolute tear. Like, nothing came of that for Talon. It's like O2 Blast are just playing on a level beyond them. It's like every single situation is just O2 Blast knowing exactly what Talon are going to do. They are playing as though they are clairvoyant.
And this is exactly almost just the mirror repeat of what we saw in Volskaya. A very clean, dominating attack from O2 Blast, and then a situation where they prevent Talon Esports from finishing the map at all. So we will still not go to a time bank. At least here, if we had gone to a time bank, I mean, what would it have been? It probably would have been Talon Esports capping in the OT with 0 time remaining. About 3 minutes on board for O2 Blast. So yeah, it would have still been, in theory, that kind of draw scenario for Talon Esports. So back-to-back draw scenarios for Talon Esports had they won the last 2 maps, including this Numbani that we did just see, which would still put them at 0. We'd still be at 1-0 right now after 3 maps. Still be O2 Blast on a 1-0 lead. And by the way, fun fact, the entire season we've had O2 Blast starting 2-0 versus every single team, even when they lost that map versus, God, who was it in the regular season? I can't even remember now. Was it T1? In any case, this is one of the few times where we do see, this is the only time this season we actually saw a 1-1 after 2 maps for O2 Blast, but they've comfortably taken 2 in a row now. That's
the thing. At this point, with how these last 2 maps have looked, I'm genuinely starting to entertain the thought of a 4-1. We talked about, you know, looking like a deep series, looking like a long series, but unfortunately with the last 2 maps, Talon have stopped showing the capacity to accomplish that, unfortunately, and O2 Blast are playing out of their minds. Like, you would be forgiven for mistaking this for being like a table-topping team versus maybe like a mid-tier team, with how much better O2 Blast are looking on a moment-to-moment, fight-to-fight basis right now. It is absolutely phenomenal gameplay. And like I said, starting to entertain the thought of a 4-1, which would mean O2 Blast would go the entire season only dropping 2 maps.
Absolutely. And, you know, to be fair, that is with having 1 less match play. They get to kind of skip past T1 in that winners bracket final, but you could say the same thing for Talon. They similarly got to skip past T1. Talon have dropped a full series versus T1 in that playoffs, and now here they're looking to try and at least make this as competitive as possible. I think it's been a good game in terms of how the individual maps have gone. Like, we've seen O2 Blast clap cheeks far harder than this versus pretty much everybody else. Talon Esports are at least taking us to the full extremities of where the maps are outside the time bank itself. They've taken a map as well. They get another map pick. We'll have to find out where they want to go.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Look, Talon haven't looked bad. They've looked good. They have genuinely looked good. They just haven't looked as good at O2 Blast. And with another map pick on the cards now for Talon, we'll have to see, like you said, where they take us. We'll also have to see if they can maybe step it up one more time. We know that they're capable of it. We know the explosive highs this team can accomplish. It just feels like those have become less and less consistent over these last few weeks at the worst possible point in the season. But still a couple of chances on the board for them. It is a 2-1 lead for O2 Blast. We'll see if they extend that lead after this break. Welcome back. You had almost exactly enough time in that break to make a pot of 2-minute noodles. I hope that's what you did, because 2-minute noodles are delicious. And you need to keep your stamina up. This is going to be a decent series still, even if the length of it is now coming into question. As we said just before the break, 2-1 advantage now for O2 Blast, and with how those last two maps have gone, starting to look less and less likely that Talon are going to be able to extend things further out. But there are still 2 maps at least to go before O2 Blast can seal the deal here, which gives Talon plenty of room for a comeback.
I'm going to say, for me personally, 2-minute noodles always feels a little bit too undercooked. I'm a man that likes to go for a little bit of a longer, slow burn.
Like a 2.5, like a 3-minute?
Yeah, maybe like a 2:01 at minimum. But ideally, you know, put into the pot and you let it just slow burn as much as you can. That's what I'm expecting and what I want to see out of the grand finals. I want to have a bit of a slow burn series, because it's ramping up to, like you sort of mentioned before we went to break, a potential 4-1. And these map picks need to come to fruition for a team like Talon, because, okay, they did win O2 Blast opening map pick of Elios. O2 Blast went over to Full Sky. They won their map pick expectedly on that, even though, I mean, I say expectedly, they actually didn't win their first map pick. Then O2 Blast have now won a map pick of Talon. So this is kind of where teams that are very dominant and truly good start to come out, where they can just beat the other team on their respective maps. And we saw in the Overwatch League Grand Finals as well, where Atlanta basically played all their best maps and Shanghai won anyway. Now Talon Esports, what are their best maps? What else can we see here? If this was O2 Blast going to map number 4 and they had the map pick, 100% I think they would go to a map like Havana. They are far more willing to go towards Arista compositions than Talon are, which means Talon will likely go to either Dorado or Route 66 instead.
And I mean, the other part of this as well is obviously going over to Escort, similar as it is to Hybrid. Look, because O2 Blast won Numbani, and, you know, look, static point notwithstanding, once the cart was moving, there was basically one location where Talon stopped it, and it was a very temporary stoppage. It was like they won one fight, stopped the cart, O2 Blast came back in and immediately won the next fight. O2 Blast were doing such a great job of dictating the geometry of the fights, the timing of the fights. They were constantly getting it before Talon were in any way ready for the fight, no matter how advantageous the situation might have otherwise been. And I expect Escort will just be a lot of the same out of O2 Blast on the attack, regardless of what map we go to. The question really is, can Talon start to get the better end of this on the defense, and can their own attack start looking as good as O2 Blast's? And if they can't get at least one, if not both of those things, then I wouldn't be surprised if we go to the end of this map and have a 3-1 result, a match point on our hands.
A match point does seem ever looming. Talon Esports have to be the ones to kind of turn things around. They have gotten close enough gameplay at various points that you'd believe it should be possible. Attack even coming in for Kane now, which is not a common thing for Talon Esports, where, okay, maybe last season attack playing was quite common, but for the most part this year, this season, they've mainly played with Kane. I don't know if this is potentially a map-specific substitution. Is it a player confidence substitution? Is it the coaching staff believing, all right, maybe we just got to change something up in our lineup, and we've only got one position to change up? It's got to be this one. So I'm not sure if there's going to be any significant changes to hero pools. We've seen Kane play it all so far. He's gone on the Diva. He's played a Sigma. He's played even a bit of Zarya into Ball just to get the extra touch. It will be Route 66 now, and this is still Talon's pick, by the way.
Yeah, still Talon's pick, but still potentially O2 Blast's comfort zone is what I might say here. Obviously, the last time we saw Talon taking it to these sorts of maps, they looked extremely comfortable. This was back against BM Hawk not too long ago. And we've already seen some of the picks that they might want to take out here. You know, we saw the Ashe come into play on Numbani. It didn't deliver exactly what they were hoping. It couldn't exert the pressure up onto Proper. Couldn't quite keep the tank line, if you will, metered and measured. It's not necessarily going to be free kills on a Winston, but it is going to make them have to think twice about the odd dive here and there with a well-placed headshot dynamite. And we just weren't seeing that out of Talon, so we'll have to start seeing that now, I dare say. Round of applause.
I mean, it was a good speech. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And the audience agrees.
I honestly did feel really flattered as soon as I heard that.
It does feel like the space to work with is running out. I mean, the air is getting thin out here in the Busan Esports arena. There's Talon Esports gasping for air. They're hoping this will be what fills their lungs. They're hoping that Route 66 gets them back into action. Make things a 2-2. I mean, it's definitely not match point yet. We're 1 away from that. If O2 Blast is going to take this away, it would be a 3-1. That is when pressure will be definitely on the back of Talon Esports. So winning this would be so important just to keep them safely in this series without having to worry about match point just yet.
One of those team chants certainly starting to get a little bit louder than the other, I dare say. I don't speak Korean, so I don't know which team they're actually is actually getting the louder cheer. At any rate, though, Talon on the starting attack. This is a pretty, again, expected team composition here. We'll have to see how well Merit fares on the Ashe on the defense, how well Talon can keep a lid on him. That will be an important part of breaking this defense open.
Almost mirrors on the both sides. O2 Blast will have Merit over towards that Ashe, though, as Kellen kind of misses that opening pile drive. A little bit unfortunate. I want to put the pressure on the Merit if possible here, but it's Max down first.
That is a trade onto Kellen, but honestly, Kellen has a much, much closer respawn. O2 Blast really need to respect this, start giving a little bit of space, especially as Junbin keeps the pressure up. O2 Blast have set up a nice little wraparound here. Merit taking a little bit of pressure here as well. As O2 Blast on the back foot for a moment.
Slow down to the payload, maybe? Okay, now it will be. With Proper and Finn taking frags, but Talon might just want to back out.
They absolutely should at this point. Looking to lose Kellen here on the way as well. I mean, that... again, it's the explosivity. It's completely out of nowhere. These players, like Proper, like Finn, like Merit, are so... They're so... It's like a gravity well. They alter space-time around them.
Yeah. That's why they play both Sigma and Zarya kind of back-to-back-to-back here. 3 maps in a row. It's O2 Blast just sucking in Talon Esports, not letting them out of their grasp. Proper especially is just unbelievably high impact in his frag power. Merit's not been super touched over the series, or over this map in particular. He's had a couple times where his health was being pressured down, but in a position where he's also just got the Bob available. Talon Esports have plenty of ultimates. They got to lock these in.
I mean, this is absolutely incredible. Talon, if they aren't able to get the headway here, this is already half of the time gone, by the way. Look, I expect they'll still cap A, but I'm seriously starting to entertain the thought that they don't. And finally, they take out both tanks of O2 Blast. They should be able to get that serious headway. Do not count out Proper and Merit's ability to just pop off and pick up a bunch of kills, especially with that Bob available, but the pressure is starting to come back onto them now.
Well, Junbin can come back to the point pretty quickly. He is a Wrecking Ball. Max is still just trying to float his way over as fast as he can. Good punish by Talon Esports to get both the tanks of O2 Blast while they'll push really far up, and that's maybe just a bit of overconfidence from the O2 Blast members. Junbin at least gets some mines down before he dies.
He is straight back down, though, so that's Talon maintaining the man advantage. Max is back in the mix, manually hacked, though, which means no gravitic flux, so important time bought while this rally is also running for Talon. Junbin gets rezzed as Finn goes down, actually, but with this gravitic flux in play, they could go for something. They found attack, Vigilante 2, and they're looking to just pull it out of the hats again. The bomb putting down so much pressure. Pulse bomb onto Chorong. O2 Blast, again. He's the likes of Proper, Merit, just skew every single situation. From a great success for Talon, they're unable to keep the momentum and they get repelled again.
So tanks as well this time too. You have Max landing the gravitic flux, picking up a kill and thinking to attack his counterpart, where both, by the way, off tanks are now into divas. Junbin already coming back in. He pops a minefield and gets resurrected, instantly finds a pile drive kill. So the tanks being alive there, backing up Proper and Merit. Huge plays. Chio getting the res. Finn's had good damage. He's been under a lot more pressure. Obviously, he's in Yada versus a dive composition. He's got to be a primary target. And Talon Esports on the last 20-ish seconds now need to try and get this payload in the bag. Pulse bomb available. He's saying looking for a stack opportunity.
Okay, Finn's down early, but attack is also DMX. Okay, that's the stick onto Merit. That is so big. They seriously needed something like this, but don't discount the red.
Oh my god!
Against 2! Are you joking? Are they just not even going to cap A? Is Proper really just that good? Even battling through the EMP, and what an EMP it was, and it's still not enough to deliver salvation to Talon as Finn drops Heesang. Ardo looking in trouble. The mines will go down, but Kellen's already down to a third of his health. No health back there for you to fall back on Bud. The Bob marking the card. A final touch from Kellen in exchange for his life, as Talon are barely able to touch this cart member after member after member. It is taking such a heavy toll. Every time they extend that overtime, it is at the cost of at least one member, a second pulse bomb in the extended fight, and again, the follow-up kill. Proper is just that good.
This guy is like a one-man army. He counts for extra members. It's not fair. Overwatch actually play with more members than just 6 here. When Proper is alive on the server, it legitimately feels like Overwatch have 7, 8, 9 players. They have 9 players fully on their roster. But it turns out when the 3 players that are benched are on that bench indeed, they just channel their power and their will into Proper. And it is actualized in the game itself where he just pulls out 3 frags from absolutely nowhere and deletes Talon Esports. And this series just got potentially even more one-sided. We at least had maps in the past. Ilias went the full distance all 3 rounds, while Sky went towards B. 89% cap for Talon Esports. Numbani went towards the very extremities of C point. Didn't finish the cap, no time bank. Now, we got a full hold on A.
Unbelievable. And, like, Talon look good. Like, they are a good team. This looks one-sided to the point where, like I said, you could forget, like, this is what it usually looks like when both of these teams play against basically any other team in this region. And yet O2 Blast still look this good. This is the best they've ever looked. They look even better than the next best by an enormous margin. The absolute heights that they are hitting in this grand final are thrilling.
O2 Blast now on the precipice of reaching match point, seeing Proper over towards the Widowmaker. And again, not an uncommon thing. Obviously, just doing an opening hook shot just to see if it can get any bites. Throw that hook out there, see what lands. Talon Esports playing the same composition that O2 Blast had on their own defense. And O2 keeping Merit on that Ashe. They're going to match exactly Merit.
And that clock is so unholy for Talon. 3.5 minutes still remaining on it. They're going to need several stoppages. Looking to maybe start gearing up for the first one now, but Kellen dies under the guns of Merit for just a few shots too many. Now the dynamite, the pressure is there. Ardo gets popped. Attack Chorong, he sank all low. They take out 2 in the form of Max and Geo. But with the closer respawns, these favorable trades for O2 Blast, even killing Merit costs them the life of Chorong. Proper has space to kill Vigilante. Finn is still here. These respawners are coming in, and there's just no Talon left.
I mean, Heesang hits hard, but Proper just comes back, counter-punches twice as hard. Talon Esports, final opportunity to get this defense going. Now it's O2 Blast that are closer towards his ultimates. Look towards the Bob. Merit's nearly there, 82% and counting. This is final fight.
This is unbelievable. Junbin, low but fine. Attack, on the other hand, D-Mexed and killed in the same heartbeat. Good kill onto Merit, but it's a 2 for 1. It's a 3 for 1.
He's too
4
good.
for 1. You do the math. O2 Blast now 3-1 in the series. The most one-sided map yet. And a back-to-back season victory firmly in their sights.
King of Korea does not bow to anybody. Proper is unleashed. He was looking good on the first 3 maps, and now he's just completely unchained. Talon can't keep a lid on him. At least Kane in those first 3 maps, especially that opening. Ilias was just kind of putting the defense matrix on top of Proper, preventing him from doing the most. Without that now, O2 Blast can do whatever they want. It is never a lost fight if Proper is still alive. It is always hashtag winnable. If Proper is in there, could be a 3 versus 3, could be whatever you want. But this guy can just take frags, get these picks, and turn the tide whenever he wants to.
I mean, do you remember all the way back on map 1 how many times we were seeing, in fact, both Tracers getting their pulse bombs eaten by Divas? And even then, Proper was still an enormous factor in especially that Ilios, which was also the only map at this point O2 Blast have lost. A close loss to be sure, but lost nonetheless. Now, like, now that the pulse bombs aren't getting taken out of the mix, like, Proper is constantly getting a pulse bomb kill, immediately following it up with just a regular kill on someone else nearby, often getting both supports out with something like that, or one tank, one support. He is doing such an insane amount of work. It beggars belief at this point.
It also,
I'm running out of ways I can compliment him. It just feels like he's a level above everyone else here. It's like watching a heavyweight championship wrestling against high schoolers.
This is basically, and anyone that's, heard my commentary and now, it's like the same thing I've been saying about Leave the entire year, or for most of the year, where you have one person that can enact their will upon the game, where simply because they want something to happen, I just want to have 3 people dead here with a click of a finger, bam, done. It just happens. And there's very few players in the world that can do that. And beyond that as well, you're saying, oh, look at Proper, he's just got on the Tracer. He's had a pretty good echo today. You haven't even begun to see the true width of his hero pool. If you look at his actual history across all of his time in Contenders, he's played like everything across both hit scan and projectile. It's unbelievable.
And every single one of them looks just as good as what we've seen out of that Tracer just now. Like, that's the thing that is so mind-boggling about this. And yeah, Leave is absolutely the apt point of comparison, to the point where, like you say, as Proper ascends up into OWL, it is going to be so thrilling to see what those head-to-heads might even look like moving forward. It just, if nothing else, should get you excited for the future. Should also get you excited for the present, because O2 Blast are on the cusp of punching the ticket, right? They're on the cusp of getting the back-to-back season wins. They won season 1, clawing it out in that tiebreaker. This is looking like an absolute slam dunk by comparison. 3-1, match point, last hope for Talon. We'll see if they can do it after the break. welcome back for what could be the last time of the season. Indeed, potentially of the year, given that this is the second and final season of 2021, when we got to the end of the third map, when O2 Blast picked up the 2-1 lead at the end of Nambani. I said I was starting to seriously entertain the thought that a 4-1 might be on the cards. After what we just saw on Route 66, I feel almost as certain as one can be in this line of work. There is still that chance. There is still a genuine chance for Talon, make no mistake, but it would be a long road back, and at any point, a tiny slip-up would see O2 Blast crushing them into dust and getting their back-to-back title wins. It is unbelievable to me that O2 Blast are that much better than the next best team, and we know how excellent Talon are. The fact that they're making them look weak almost is a testament to O2 Blast's gigantism.
And this is the way we end Overwatch 1 on, where you have the game being pushed to its absolute limits, where you have potentials being realized, when you have a team like O2 Blast, similarly like the Shanghai Dragons in the Overwatch League, that have reached their peak and have capitalized their potential so high that the next best team simply cannot even compete. You're seeing some of the best players. In fact, I would go as far as to say, on these two teams, you might just be looking at the 12 best players in Korea, with consideration that I think T1 also have fantastic players. Shout out to MN3 on that team that I think would have also had a fantastic opportunity had he been in finals as well. But right now, you're not unhappy with any of the teams that you're seeing here. I'm not too sure that any other team would be able to do much more than what Talon have been able to do versus O2 so far. O2 currently are just that good.
Absolutely. By such an unbelievable margin as well. And like you say, you know, we're at the point where the game is getting pushed to its absolute limits. They're not better because there's, you know, tidier macro play or, you know, all these little things that it's often been at points in the past. No, we're at the point where every team is, you know, exceptional at those wider overarching factors to the game. They can all play an exceptional number of heroes to a highly proficient degree. The macro game is immaculate. The compositions are immaculate. The only thing twisting it at this point, the game being at its absolute limit, is just that individual playmaking potential. And O2 Blast have it in spades compared to Talon.
And Talon, I know they have the capability themselves. I know they have the talent on their team. It's time to show it. It's time to see what they're made of. Kilo coming in for merit. The head scan god himself. They gave O2 Blast their last championship earlier this year. Kilo coming now ideally for that ash. We already saw merit on there, by the way. Believe me when I say Kilo should be even scarier than that. He is the hit scan specialist of the team. And you better be damn sure that if there's a grand finals, all 9 players of O2 Blast will get their moment to shine. And now it's Kilo's turn.
Absolutely phenomenal. You love to see it. You really do. As we move on to what could well be our final map. There's a chance that it's not. And in fact, as we go to Control, naturally, that is the map that, the game mode, rather, that Talon were able to win on earlier. But it was a close-fought thing. The 2 maps that they won were 99-99. That final fight, had it swung the other way, had a player like Proper absolutely popped off, played out of his mind, as he so often does, then it would have already been O2 Blast's series at this point. And that threat still hangs over Talon on this next Control. They had to keep so many lids on so many players, and they only have so many hands.
Testing the waters, we were in map number 1. We're just getting onto the bright and sunny shores of Ilios. We haven't even really reached too far inland there. It's still on the beach, I'd say, as everyone's just kind of feeling out the competition. Talon here to play as far as Ilios is concerned, but as far as we went into Volskaya and further maps, it only got more dominant for O2 Blast with Route 66 now very far inland. It's looking like all O2 country.
It really is. Certainly wasn't the D-Day landing that maybe Talon were hoping it would be as they arrived on the shores of Ilios. Had that early success. Bitter fought, hard won, and have since ground to a halt, indeed on the cusp of being repelled entirely. This is, as you say, O2 Blast country. Talon are not allowed in.
Map number 5 now, Busan, to potentially finish things out. The Busan Tourism Board is loving every single second of this moment live at Busan Esports Arena right now, with both teams battling it out for Season 2 Championship. O2 Blast looking for the back-to-back. Talon looking for redemption. A match point being secured now by O2 Blast over the course of the last 3 maps. Talon yet to do any real damage on Volskaya, Numbani, and Rooster C6, but Control was where they succeeded, and Control again is where we are going.
And again, on the shores as well. We were on the shores of Ilios previously, now on the shores of Busan. A lot of similarities, actually. Very rocky, very mountainous shore regions, both Greece and Korea. An interesting geographic similarity there. No further comment, I just wanted to point that out.
That's right, one comment was all you needed to get the audience going here is on-field advantage for both teams. Maybe more so if GC Busan was playing. Contenders trophy.
Yeah.
Close by and, dare I say, a little bit closer to O2 Blast now. Not physically, but spiritually, as an upcoming trophy lift might not be that far away. Can Talon bounce back? They need to bring forth what got them victory on Ilios, now back over on Control.
A team, an organization that came into Korea being the uncontested top dog, the dynastic ruler of the Pacific region, and they've come close twice now and may yet again fail to achieve those same heights in Korea. Playing the big leagues now, and it's O2 Blast who are the top dog here. He's saying already dispatched off, attack stunned up, gonna get demeched as Vigilante follows, and O2 Blast looking as collected as ever. It's so effortless for them.
The damage just comes through so easy, throwing a Vigilante down. Finn gets killed, but he got that only pick anyway. Kellen gets a double frag on the support line of O2 Blast, so maybe damage can still be put the other way around. Talon actually looking for a back cap here, or at least a turnaround. They need a little bit more HP on Kellen first.
He does live, that's the important thing. So they exact those 2 kill taxes, have the quicker respawn, can maybe get something done if they can come back to the point quick, smart, and get another couple of kills. Finn's superbly low. There we go. Ardo gets the finish off. He's low himself, but Kellen's coming into his aid here. Kellen really started to come alive on this wrecking ball. Gets popped up by his counterpart. He's saying does get dispatched off by Kilo. Kellen and Attack both low. Both looking to get taken out here. Attack out of the mech for now. Surely won't last too long in this pilot form either. And again, just when there's an open window for Talon, it's only that. It's a window. It's not like they've smashed down the door and charged in. They've barely got the fingers in before the window gets slammed shut on the nails.
Double support's been taken down by Proper there as well. Vigilante will save that Transcendence for another fight, and 50% now on board for O2 Blast as far as objective time goes. Kilo looking for the Bob next. EMP is going to be troublesome, but O2 Blast are about to have double support ultimates, so as long as one of them gets popped while the EMP is there, or before the EMP rather does come through, O2 Blast should be safe.
I'm watching for someone like Vindame to get what Chio got with the stun before Ardo gets the EMP off. Not going to get it on this one at least, but it's a good start now for Talon, the 2 coming through. Even with that rally running, it's not quite proving to be enough. Time being, they need to finish it off though. Proper being dead is probably exactly what they need, and there we go. 75% for O2 Blast is the lead. Talon now in a position to play catch up.
Good fight for Talon Esports, put the pressure on the supports first. Finn actually chose not to transcend, by the way. That was an option available. Very critical HP. They believe that Vindime, especially with the rally, the healing was going to be enough to put Finn back into action. Damage from Talon Esports will confirm him, and no Transcendence to be burned to keep O2 Blast in. They didn't want to layer double support ultimates. And they'll have to give away the cap because of that one. O2 Blast now, still at 75%. Talon trying to catch up.
And now, attack a little bit low, getting back in the mech. It's a decent pickup there for Talon. Nice pulse bomb out, Ooh. Collecting 2, absolutely flawless. And there's that Transcendence, does not do anything in that instant tick of damage. And putting on his best Proper impersonation, he's saying single-handedly wins the fight.
Heesang's going to continue as well. Late kill on towards Finn. Double pulse bomb. That's exactly what Talon got to do to catch up. We saw them catch up from worse circumstance over on Ilios.
Yeah.
Now Mecha Base is starting to be a situation that looks kind of okay. The fact that O2 Blast, I mean, okay, you have Kilo here, but Kilo's mostly to benefit them on Sanctuary. On the other maps here, Mecha Base, not as comfortable. It's not going to be good on sight lines for hit scans. Auto taking Finn down again, so O2 Blast on another 5v6.
great start for Talon. This is exactly the situation they need to keep arranging. Ardo does have to translocate to safety, 10 HP for himself, but put the pressure enough on Junbin that Kellen was able to get the finish off where Ardo could not. So now they even up the percentage, take a lead as O2 still resetting while they wait for Junbin.
Yeah, Talon Esports looking at a great position now. This comeback has been pretty phenomenal. They need the EMP next. They'll have the EMP before Vindime and Finn can counter. That's going to be super important for Talon Esports to take away Mecha Base, and having a lead here would be important.
Okay, they have already got the one kill. Pulse bomb out from Heesang. Doesn't get the connection this time around, but Talon have the better position in this fight. The Batcat looking to maybe come through with all those mines laid out. Pulse bomb will get Talon to attack, especially to have to use that self-destruct. He does get straight back into the mech. Meanwhile, the support line pressure taken out now. There's Talon 99% at a big lead in the fight. Max goes for the Hail Mary self-destruct. Not able to get back to the point. Unfortunately, neither is Junbin. 100 to 75% again, clawing it back from the brink. Talon very much still a contender.
You can see there towards the end as well, Kilo swapping over towards the Sombra. You know that O2 Blast would definitely rather prefer to have a mirror matchup versus Talon Esports here, but when you have Kilo in and his hero pool is going to be limited, you kind of have to make do with what you got then. It worked out for the first 75%, but when they're trying to retake, they lose a lot of that dive pressure, they lose a lot of that go button with Kilo specific picks on the Ash and Kree. So now that we move over to either Sanctuary or downtown, that's going to be the Ash territory that Kilo and O2 Blast are definitely looking for, but it's a good comeback for Talon Esports. 0 to 75, and they get all 100 in a row. Lots of great plays. The final EMP from Ardo onto the backline, catching both Vindime and also Finn. That's what you need to see, and Vindime doesn't even get to rally.
And ever so slightly more comfortable than the 0 to 99 that they had to recover from way back on Ilios at the start of this grand final. Talon now back against the wall to be sure, but you know, down but not out, as they say. It's looking to get the pressure on once again. Kellen brought it a little bit low. We have the Ash Mirror matchup. Kilo's got the better end of it so far with the extra damage. He's staying on the side, trying to get in deep. Attack may get demacked here alongside the loss of Kellen. That is a heavy toll exacted in exchange for getting the kill on Finn. May get fine Vindame, but if they don't get it quick enough, it's not going to matter. O2 Blast are still piling on the damage. It's going to be enough to finish off the DPSs of Talon. They will be able to rotate to the point and cap it.
It's got to be 1 for Talon getting Finn, but it's 6 in return for O2 Blast, with Max killing 3 of them. So starting to work up towards Fluxes and other ultimates. You know that Kilo was ahead of Ardo, who is now going to swap over to the Sombra instead. Talon wanted to play full dive. Don't want a mixture of, you know, dive plus hit scan. That's going to be O2 Blast strategy, and will continue to be their strategy for the remainder of this map. However long that is, whether that ends here on downtown or whether we do go to Sanctuary. Pulse bomb available for proper now with Junbin hacked.
This Junbin brought super low. Might not get out of here alive. Nope, there we go. Rolls to safety. A little bit touch and go there. The shield's doing wonders for him. And Talon weren't quite in a position to follow up and get the extra damage to finish him off, but they have been able to take a slightly more favorable position out of the whole debacle. A lot of members low on Talon, though. This could be danger. Here we go. Pulse bomb out from Proper. It's a good trade-off, but those low members on Talon without those supports left in the mix, it's just over so quickly, almost as quickly as it begins, really.
Talon Esports still bleeding players currently. We're looking at another 50% lead for O2 Blast. It'll be back-to-back here. Wouldn't be surprised if it's actually 75, but it's all said and done. Talon Esports waiting for the last round of respawns here. Getting close to some ultimates. EMP again is not really far enough. And Kilo's actually swapped off as well. He's gone over towards the Sombra. Again, not a common pick for Kilo, but does give O2 Blast a little bit more agency and tempo.
All right, that's going to be the double Transcendence. Talon able to stay alive thanks to it, out of getting handily topped off. And now let's see what they can accomplish with the Gravitic Fluxes in the mix. Not really the highest value one. Now the minefield out from Kellen as he's in position to get the wraparound, but Proper has just got Vigilante's number as per usual. EMP out from Ardo, but can they actually get the kills to follow it up? There's Finn down. That's at least something. But Proper is still in the mix. He's still a threat holding on to that Pulse Bomb as we approach 90%. Now doesn't quite get the catch on the Pulse Bomb. Kellen's down anyway. An O2 Blast. They've still got a straight up man advantage. They respect the self-destruct, but they're looking to pile straight back in.
Talon have to get to work now. They have limited time to work through. It's going to be 99 for sure for O2 Blast. Chorong down and Proper. It's already a 6v5.
the man absolutely delivers. Okay, Talon, they've capped with that 99% on the board, but I don't think this is looking to be that comeback like what we saw way back on Ilios. In fact, I think it's going to be O2 Blast sealing the deal here as they continue to collect the kills. Very lean look at Talon now as attack demeched. Kellen in trouble, will at least roll to the point, try buy a little bit more overtime, but I doubt he's going to live for very long once he's here. Chorong certainly won't be. Kellen gets whip-shotted away, manually hacked out, can't touch the point. That 11%, I mean, really, it's just in the middle of a final fight. That is as good as 100-0. O2 Blast not missing a beat.
No, Talon Esports there did not really have enough to show to make the comeback possible. They would have had to really have gotten more than just getting Proper in that final fight, and Proper even starting things out with a stick on the Chong gives them a 6-3-5 that's quickly turned back, but you need player advantages here. Can't quite afford to just go even versus O2 Blast, and a lot of these neutrals, a lot of the damage trades have gone the way of O2 Blast, and not just talking about Proper, it's everyone across the board. It's Finn getting a bunch of damage, and he's also died a lot, to be fair, but he is a Zenyatta. Again, reminder, in these matchups, Zenyatta is a primary target. It's not going to be a surprise to see Finn and Vigilante targeted as much as possible. But O2 Blast, let's see what happens in this neutral, as again, O2 Blast have won pretty much every single neutral so far.
This is it as well. Last chance for Talon. We're tied up 1-1, 3-1 to O2 Blast. Match point. No more chances. O2 Blast, it is so close, so within their grasp. The absolute poetry of winning in Busan,
And they have done it with consistency shown over the entire year, dominance shown over the entire year. All 9 players getting game time over the 5 matches being shown here. Talon Esports already off to a 4-star kill with the solar frag and proper to Heat as well.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Both DPSs headshot kill on their immediate counterparts and then go on an absolute tear. Proper does as Proper wants.
4 kills. The King does anything he wishes. So O2 Blast now on their way forward. Another neutral one, 10% and counting. Proper's about to hit that pulse bomb timing. And Talon don't quite have anything to work with just yet. Even the rally difference for Vindime, the healing of the damage output through the last fight, significant for O2 Blast as Talon Esports. They need to claw through with anything they can. Kellen's ahead of Jimbin. Now Kellen, that we have eyes on, needs to make the first play happen.
This is already a tough, terrible spot indeed for Talon, as they're trying to reset, trying to get their ends. Kellen just playing interference here. Has to start having something happen. Kilo's already found attack as well, and it just keeps happening. The pressure is immense. Proper again, all over Heesan. Junbin drops onto Ardo, slams him down, essentially buries him immediately into a grave. Yeah, Junbin dies. That's 1 death on O2 Blast. It might be the only death they've experienced so far. Only a couple at the very least. And 60% already.
It's the 1 death that you don't care about, because Junbin can just fly back into action as fast as he wants to. Kilo, by the way, getting 2 of the opening frags so far. It's Max the trouble. Might go down. Isn't being saved by Transcendence, but the healing's there. He just walks out alive.
They don't even care to use support ultimates. That's how confident they are that there isn't enough pressure there again. It's like O2 Blast are playing with prescience. They know exactly what's going to happen. They know how much Talon can accomplish at any given moment. They have found out Kilo. Here's the Transcendence now. Maybe fraction of a hair too late, but even so, this could still be a favorable fight for O2 Blast if they could pop off, because Proper has shielded up. There we go. Proper is keeping it alive ever so slightly. He is literally matching kill for kill as Talon kill members of O2 Blast, Proper kills members of Talon, but should be enough for Talon to rotate to the point.
Dude, you cannot make this up, man. Like, the O2 Blast are down like 2 members. They should be losing this fight, and yet still O2 Blast gonna walk away with a handful of frags simply because Proper wants to. He's like, might I just get 3 kills straight? Yeah, I probably will. Let's get that done. Let's see what happens here. It's nearly onto another pulse bomb now. Attack looking for that flux. Catches 2.
Oh, it's not ideal. Hacked out. Chorong's armor saves Vigilante. Jumpin's down. That's good for Talon. Need to maintain a man advantage. They have to claw this one back again from the brink. That being said, this is where O2 Blast maybe need to give a lot of respect, start sweating even, because they have been held out fully by Talon more than once across these control maps tonight.
And both teams will be waiting for timings and ultimates here. The EMPs are still far enough away. That's a good thing for Talon Esports, considering O2 Blast definitely wants something like that, but can they open it with a pulse? Oh! Yeah, they definitely can. It's Proper, baby.
And he just does it again. He gets Choron to boot. He's saying it's desperately trying to keep pace. Does get both the supports of O2 Blast. Indeed, Max now down and out for the count as well. But that only evens things up with Tac dead. Proper finds his counterpart. Still alive. He's still alive with Kilo. Yeah, ignore the fact that they don't have any supports, don't have any tanks. As long as Kilo and Proper are alive, they could still accomplish something here. Proper drawing resources away from the point as O2 Blast reset.
EMP time upon us. Kilo nearly there, about 12% away, and Talon Esports will be at least able to extend this up until 75. Vigilante has the trans available for the counter. Out on the other end with EMP as well. This could come down to an EMP. The final fight might be upon us. Finished down early. That's a good news for Talon.
Absolutely enormous. There's just enough time, though, for that respawn to come in. The EMP timing there as well, potentially. If O2 Blast feel like they can press something in. Kilo's brought low, though. Take it down. Arno's on top of him. He's saying, quick recall, but no, Max still marks him. And as these respawns come in, because there's just enough time, because we only just rounded 90%,
Solo.
They have to go for an EMP. They're trying to take the tempo play before O2 Blast can reset and try and pull back on the 99. But can they stop Talon from getting here? The overtime begins now. O2 Blast, they've got the Gravitic Flux first, looking to get the slam down. Their own EMP is in. Vigilante looking to rescue with the Transcendence. It's all chips down now as O2 Blast, their own Transcendence is done. Chorong's the casualty to kick it off. The pulse bombs are wide. Proper's dead though. Is that enough to keep a lid on O2 Blast? Vintime dead to a mine. Max super low. Finn looking to get dispatched off. Talon, they breathe in one last lungful and they blow O2 Blast back to keep the series alive.
Run it back, baby. Go back to Ilios. You have a final kill that starts with Proper down first. Talon Esports then dropping the EMP. They drop in everything they have and they steal away. No, they earn it. They earn the final map that would have been this control center, well, the control map on Sanctuary here. And Talon Esports still got life left in them. They have the ability now to take us a little bit further, maybe all the way. Maybe we can go to 7-5 underway in a 3-2 scoreline. We were thinking, is this going to be the 4-1? O2 are looking dominant, but you have to remember, Talon have the comeback potential. They did it on Ilios, and they've done it again on Busan.
They've showed us what they can do, what we've always known they can do. They're starting to bring it to bear once again. And they know it too. They know they're in a tight spot. And I have to say, they're back in the danger zone in a big way, not just because we are still on match point. Yes, they've kept it alive, but now, by merit of winning this map, we immediately go back to O2's map pick for the first time since Ilios. In fact, Ilios and then Volskaya Industries got picked, and you know how the latter of those went. And with O2 Blast being on match point as well, then getting that map pick is even more threatening.
With Hybrid coming up next as well for O2 Blast, the choices are going to be Kings Row or Eichenwalde, and honestly, I'm smelling the potential for Kings Row here. I think most teams have kind of shied away from Eichenwalde for this year. There isn't going to be like a clear choice. If anything, it was clear for Talon Esports where they were going to take their Hybrid. Nambani was always going to be the obvious choice. If you're going to look at it from the O2 Blast side of things, where would they have gone? I still lean towards the Kings Row, and now when it's a 50-50 option, that seems like the obvious one for me. We'll have to find out exactly what they do want to do, but there's options for Orisa there. They can definitely take things further. Kilo might end up staying in just for some hit scan presence for a map like Kings Row, but now that we've gotten past the two controls, have things opened up. And one last factor here as well, because O2 are on match point, if Talon do win this map and we go to an escort, it does go back to O2 Blast map pick again, and I fully expect them to take us to Havana for that map 7, which they would be favored on.
Exactly. If Talon are going to still rescue this series, pull it back from the brink, a sort of mini reverse sweep, then it is going to be through the absolute toughest maps possible, and this is in a situation where they've already lost their favorable maps against O2 Blast. O2 Blast proved that they could do it to Talon. Now we're going to see if Talon can do it back to O2 Blast, see if they can continue to keep it alive after this break. Welcome back, and make no mistake, we're still in dire straits for Talon indeed. Name notwithstanding, it is truly they who are within O2 Blast's clutches, not the other way around. But they have created just enough wiggle room to perhaps squirm and break free yet. They recover just a little bit on Busan, though the other context for this is maybe to consider that they have only been able to win control matches so far, control maps rather. It has been O2 Blast handily winning every single other game mode. We revisit now the hybrid game mode with it being O2 Blast's map pick, unlike Talon's as it was last time on Numbani. And, well, need I remind you how Numbani went. It is still O2 Blast's series to win, or indeed to lose at this point.
And as the other thing you have to remember is that O2 Blast have all the map picks for the rest of the series now. They will get this map pick. If they lose again, they will get the final map pick for our map number 7. Pending any, or even if there is a draw, they will get the map pick, because if you draw, we just kind of forget that map even happened, just delete it from our memories and continue as if it was never played at all. So the following maps will just all now be in O2's wheelhouse. Talon have to be prepared for everything. They've won the 2 control maps, well done. In a regular matchup, I think if this was a first to 3, a BO5, you win double controls, you win one other map, you're through, you've won. In this case, obviously, it would have been a 3-1. We would have already finished here, but ideally, in some cases, if you're a team that can steadily take those controls, that's a great start. In a first to 4, though, that's only 2 maps out of 7. You're still halfway to go. You win 2, you got 2 more to go to collect that 4. And Talon got to find that extra 2 from somewhere, because the last 3 before Busan, those weren't in.
A fascinating thing, though, that I do like to consider here is it's something I actually didn't revisit much in this particular series, but Talon have almost felt in some ways like a slow starting team. It's been hard to tell because they're often at such a disparity between them and their opponents that you don't really notice it as much. It's hard to perceive it. But then when we revisit this, the series they had against BM Hawk, where they kind of had a slower start, a rockier start, and just looked better and better and better as the series went on, to the point where it was an absolute slam dunk shutout of a finish. There is very much a consideration to be had here where maybe this is Talon now started. They were still a slow starting team. The first map was, you know, a contentious one, a win, but a contentious one. And they're slowly getting better and better and better. It feels weird to say that because of how incredibly one-sided Route 66 was, to the point where they looked utterly defeated. But they're proven to us they're not. They've still got more gas in the tank. Question is, how much more gas, how many more revs can they build up?
The issue with the Route 66 as well, now that we're on that topic, is that it was Talon's map pick, and you never want to get dominated on your own map pick. Losing Numbani by arguably close enough margins. I say close enough because we kind of went to the end of the map, even though time bank wise it's like a 3-4 minute difference, and I mean we didn't even get to go to the time bank. Had we gone, it would have been a massive difference. That is still a lot more competitive than what we got on Route 66. Now that O2 Blast have won a bunch of Talon's map picks, it's time for Talon to show that they can do the exact same thing, and it begins with Busan. It needs to end with map number 6 on Hybrid and number 7 on Escort as well, where I'm expecting a Kings Row into Havana if we are going that deep. Otherwise, I mean, Talon would have to... They would have to play a phenomenal game just to even get to that map number 7, and that map number 7 I think would be pretty hard.
Had a little bit of an identity crisis there for a second, and I was like, I swear I don't look like that. Yeah, the map 6 still pending here. Curious to see what they'll actually go to. But honestly, a part of me almost wonders how much it actually matters. I wouldn't be surprised if we just go to something like a Kings Row, where O2 Blast go, you know what, this is essentially neutral ground. This is not the kind of map that favors any one particular team at this point, which means, first of all, you don't risk accidentally going to Eichenwalde, where maybe Talon have some, you know, in the back pocket kind of strat that you just haven't had to see all season or something like that. It feels like neutral ground, and it is on neutral ground that O2 Blast can continue leaning into the differences that have put them on match points in the first place. We're talking about, you know, especially the likes of Proper, but just the extra playmaking potential that seems to be coming out of so many individual members on this team.
And, you know, the clutch factor of both teams is showing itself in various regards. I think consistency has been in O2 Blast's favor this entire series. They've had mostly better fights, more successful maps. I mean, they're 3-2. Really, that says enough. But you look at the fact that every single neutral was won by O2 Blast on Busan. I'm trying to think about on Ilios and if it was the same thing or not. My memory's not quite clear enough to give you any judgment on that. But Busan, sure, it was definitely 3 out of 3 times. So we're looking at in O2 Blast that have been pretty phenomenal there. The opening pick percentage is so damn high from this team. Either it's Kilo, it's Finn, it's Proper, it could be anybody with Merit's in. Capability for Merit to do that as well. That's tough to play against when you're up against O2 Blast because you feel like you're always down one, you're always 5v6, and your game plan is to try and recover into a 5v5 situation where then you can at least fight on even ground.
This is going to be a bitter and bloody series to the end at this point, even if this is the last map of it, because you will have Talon down to their last, kicking and screaming. They will not go down quietly, I guarantee you that. We also saw just now Substitution as FaZe comes back in over Max. I think we might have that last map finally locked in as well. I shouldn't say last. It's not necessarily the last map. We've been talking all this time about the comeback potential that still exists here. But indeed, yes, one of the last. Ties notwithstanding. Chio back in over Vindam as well. So a couple of substitutions on the O2 Blast side of things.
Could be Merit. We'll keep our eyes out for that one, as you usually do have the 3 runaway players together. Chio, FaZe, and Merit. It's not always the case. It was definitely more like that at the start of the season, whereas now they have definitely played a lot more Merit than they have played Chio or FaZe. So as we move on forward, I did also say that if it is a map like Kings Row, I probably expect more Kilo just because of hit scan viability, but even then, I wouldn't say I'm 100% confident just because you then also have the capability to play a lot of Sombra, and Eichenwalde being the map choice for O2 Blast. It's kind of, in some cases, you'd imagine unconventional, but as far as thinking about what Talon could or couldn't be good at, I'm more interested in O2 Blast and what they believe they are good and not good at. And I would believe that they're good at everything, but Eichenwalde, as far as percentages goes, might just be a pick where they believe they are slightly better on. Maybe it's a matchup thing as well. Confidence is certainly there, and Eichenwalde could be our final map, or it could be our gateway into map number 7.
And it makes some amount of sense as well as the map pick for O2 Blast, as much as I sort of posited my neutral territory theory with Kings Row. What Eichenwalde delivers for them is, the ability to do things like put Proper on the Echo. We've seen him play that exceptionally well. The substitution for Chio is possibly to put him on a Mercy, keep him in the pocket somewhere. Could also have a Pharaoh over an Echo. I'm not going to rule it out entirely. And then, you've still got the Ashe option. It feels like this maximizes their compositional options, and all it takes is for them to find the one that Talon can't shut down, and then it's over.
Could be over here. It'll be over in the next 2 maps regardless, and gotta say I'm happy just to go to 6 maps. That already fills me with the joy. We are not going to get a 4-0 series. Hashtag already better than the Overwatch League Grand Finals, and at this point, 6 maps, I'm okay with that one. 7, I'd be even better with. Heading in now, Kilo remaining, did not get subbed out for Merit. Does mean that we have the capability of seeing a lot more hit scan presence, especially on A and B. Or is Kilo just going to be playing that Sombra? Because if he is going to be playing mainly Sombra, that probably would have been in Merit's wheelhouse instead. So that's an interesting choice.
He's saying whizzing away from losing his head. This Proper just goes back, changing up to the Tracer. So we're just looking to get almost a mirror. Actually, no, it's not. It's not anything like a mirror. Never mind that. It's a DPS mirror is what I was thinking, and I was like, yeah, no, the rest of them are
it's like one of those like carnival mirrors. It's like got a little bit funky. It's not quite there. Yeah, it's a little funhouse mirror where like it sort of looks like me, but not really. It's 3 players about the same gear. O2 Blast working on a nano for Jimba. Not that far off actually. It's pretty fast for Finn. We're looking at a potential 40-second nano. I mean, that'd be one of the fastest ones I've seen.
And even then, before that happens, they just get a kill on Hisag, and now they can deliver that immediately onto Junbin, the nano boost that is, as Kellen goes down. I mean, this is nuts, right? This is absolutely insane. This is, I mean, it's like Talon are just a piece of tissue paper. O2 Blast slam onto the point like it belongs to them all along.
O2 Blast, like you said, they managed to get a frag before the nano was even relevant. The nano came in on, I think, exactly 40 seconds on the dot, so about 3:20 in the time bank when Finn had it. Obviously popped on a Jimbin just to ensure that they were going to get that 8 point no issues. Don't want to get reset, don't want to lose a bunch of time now. Probably looking towards a pulse bomb, and Talon otherwise, despite that, are closer to most of their ultimates.
That's at least the silver lining here, but that being said, O2 Blast, Proper especially, all it takes is one good kill. He gets Hisag. Now pulse bomb out, doesn't quite get the kill on that, but the damage is long since done, I dare say. The straight up man advantage, good counter trade, finding Kilo.
Look at the energy.
Keeps them in it. Strong anti-heals here. Like you say, the energy, it forces out the Transcendence, and there's even Stevens right now with FaZe able to commit that grab. Now, absolutely no way to realistically respond to it. Kellen looking to potentially go down, shouldn't be able to get away to safety. 100 charge for FaZe here. Yeah, okay, Chio dies to Hisag's pulse bomb, but the cart's still moving. O2 Blast is still getting a man advantage, and now they'll have an EMP up on rotation for the next fight.
As long as Finn's alive, this is okay. Chio can rejoin the fray in just a hot second here. FaZe, I thought that was going to be a for sure kill to Kellen. It took a while. Kellen nearly looked like he got out alive. Manual hack coming through an attack. That should be no remake.
Ooh.
Was that a hack with the Jumpin as well?
That was a full EMP. That was a full solo EMP, which is, I mean, it goes to show how much they felt like they needed the instant, because if he'd seen the channel on the hack, he would have immediately hit the Primal Rage. So I can respect that play there in a weird kind of way. It does at least buy them the kill, but they need to get a whole hell of a lot more. Now the EMP across from Kilo, far more deadly in terms of who it lands on, but not as deadly in terms of the follow-up. Okay, Pulse Bomb onto Vigilante. You feel like Proper can do that anyways, but here we go. As Junbin finds Ardo, Kellen slept. He's going to get brought low. Junbin back in being the case. It means he can finally use that Primal Rage that he got hacked out previously. Finn does go down to the counter trade, so Talon can still potentially hold on here, but they're going to need to go on an absolute tear. That might do it. Proper and Junbin both. FaZe poised to follow here unless he goes for a desperate grab. I think he'd be ill-advised to do so. That's going to be Talon holding on the B.
And O2 Blast, they really kept this competitive the entire way through, because Talon looked like they were slowly winning this fight. I mean, it's the same fight that occurred when Ardo got that EMP on the jump, and it's just that O2 Blast reset. Well, they didn't actually reset. They were still playing the same fight. Everyone respawned and rejoined the action. We just kept on going, and this payload got to the gates at the end of B. But it proper goes down. Your clutch factor starts dropping quite significantly. O2 Blast lose a lot of the fragging power they had. Would have come down to FaZe's shoulders if he had the energy. The grab could have been played. Now he's been fully reset. The damage has to come elsewhere. They're going to need a Bionade for sure in this grab.
It's a really nice little piece for them. Vigilante looking to go for a tempo Transcendence. Ends up working out well because they use the entire grab and the nano boost. The 1-for-1 so far. Jumbin is still alive, finally getting picked off there. So straight up advantage here for Talon. The Transcendence ends up being the right call. Proper still in the mix though, is potentially a threat. He at least takes Ardo. That's the proper tax. But it is going to be O2 Blast reset.
Kilo looked like it was about the back cap there. It was getting a bit tricky for Talon Esports, who had to rapidly come back and address that situation. As O2 Blast are working on 4 ultimates here. Notice that, okay, FaZe dropped in the grab, but they didn't have a good damage follow-up. There was no pulse available just yet. Obviously no EMP. Both teams have an EMP now. Chio's already got a pre-rally because he doesn't want to take the chance.
Okay, Kilo's in first with it. Ardo does sort of get his off, but I don't know who it actually landed on. In fact, both not really landing on a whole lot of people. I think Kilo's only actually caught Ardo himself. Even so, Finn is the first casualty. Pulse Bomb will exact a toll on Choring, but Jumpin and Proper now down as well. That's the big story of it. O2 Blast again looking to get repelled. Talon, they're finally 6 maps deep, started to hit their stride on the defense.
You can see that O2 Blast are recognizing its potential compositional issue here as well. FaZe might be on 71, but I'm really looking at this as you're gonna need a diva at some point. You need to do more spy checking. Ardo's going unanswered. To kind of clear up what happened to the EMPs, I'm pretty certain that Ardo had his EMP cancelled by Kilo's EMP, but the end result doesn't really change too much because Talon still wins that fight. They don't have to spend too much. Rally plus EMP comes out to be all you need, and Ardo's nearly onto another EMP now as well, on top of 4 ultimates for his team.
Ooh, the pulse bomb from Hisang not quite connecting, but look at the pressure. He gets the shots in close up on Finn, comes back, throws them in from a distance, allowing Attack to scoop up the kill, and now O2 Blast stuck right where they don't want to be. A lot of low members, a lot of easy pickings as Kellen just gets Chio on the fly through. FaZe getting taken out. This isn't even at the B cap. This is well in advance of it. Talon are looking better and better. Proper does get away, but whew, this is looking dangerous. This
is a situation where O2 Blast are kind of, I wouldn't say they're playing a midway comp because you can play Zarya with the ball, but it's a little archaic as far as where the meta has developed. You want to be mirroring what Talon are playing currently. They want this grab, though. It still doesn't have good damage follow-up. You also notice that since FaZe went down when he's on 99, he's never had high energy, and he's just been destroyed again.
Really big EMP right across the backline. The rally goes off, but with Finn already dead, they're going to need some kind of turnaround here. They want to wait out that Transcendence before they maybe go for a grab. They may yet want to try and back up. They're barreling for the cart. Look at that, though. O2 Blast slam dunk onto the exposed backline of Talon. They realize that they've been taken on the backline by the EMP, but they just go aggressive. They counter-rotate straight onto the cart now. And what could have just been a holdout, what could have been a serious contention for a map win, is going to be Talon falling short of the mark on the B hold. O2 Blast still keeping it seriously alive, and get could
might force
close
EMP.
out the series this game.
They might force Kilo's EMP here. In fact, you should probably use it now. 2 players have been bionated.
Oh.
And O2 Blast, okay, they don't need it. They'll just barely get that cap. Kellen's exited. And just as a little bit of a fun fact, by the way, Proper was manually hacked and still got a frag on the Choro while he was hacked and then got it alive. Has killed Heesang now. Talon Esports down a couple of members. Vigilante finally getting off that Ana, going over towards the Zen. And FaZe has not quite changed off the Zarya just yet. They want to keep running it through, I believe. Okay, maybe he's got the energy to play with this time. If he dies one more time, I would still expect the D.Va should be the superior pick here. You got EMP plus Pulse into 2 more support ultimates for O2 Blast and very limited time to work with.
I got to say as well, if Talon had held on B, I would have had a lot of positivity about their offensive half. Instead, you know, how much distance is O2 Blast going to get? Could they even fully cap out with the early kill coming through? It's looking likely. Pulse bomb straight onto Chorong. Finn is dead. That's a big find. Don't get me wrong, but Ardo's dead as well. Attack on, he just gets back in the back. There's a kill on Proper. You hear the crowd cheer. They know what that means, but that's to say nothing of FaZe and Kilo still in the mix. And FaZe, plenty of charge available, nearly hitting a grab here as well. Should be able to deploy that. Absolutely nothing that can be done to respond to it. Like I said, as Finn comes back in, there's still a Transcendence here for O2 Blast. Finn will look to haul in on it. FaZe not quite able to get that grab off as Heesang dispatches of him, and there we go. Talon off the back of the EMP are going to be able to come back to the fight, back to the fray. Slam dunk O2 Blast, repel them hopefully one last time. Here we go. Finn comes in with the Transcendence, trying to keep the remnants of O2 Blast in it. Can Talon dislodge them for good?
Proper barely gets out alive there. I don't even think he really had a recall left remaining. Finn goes down. Jumba's hacked out. They desperately need the minefield. There is still a grab to go for the win, but they got to keep Jumba alive.
He couldn't get there. He had to duck out of the way, and that keeps him out of line of sight of the rally. It's a decent grab. It does find 2, but they're so lean on members. Proper does not survive the hack this time around. And speaking of hacks, the EMP across onto 3 members, but Vigilante is the 4th. He is unhacked with Transcendence available, and that is where Talon will draw the line. I dare say it is deeper into their territory than they would have liked. It will make their attacking half harder, but the series is still alive in a big, big way. They only need to get to the end of C.
I mean, the tables have at least finally turned as far as how the maps are going. We looked at Volskaya, you looked at Numbani. It was the other way around. It was O2 Blast, the team that prevented Talon Esports time and time again from reaching map completion. Here, it's going to be Talon defending their territory on C. This is O2 Blast map pick, by the way. We'll have to see how the attacking side, or the defending side of O2 Blast is going to go. But the attacking side, like you sort of mentioned, they look like they're about to get held on B, and they at least made it past B. Not a fan of how long they end up playing the Zarya, when, to not beat a dead horse too much here, but D.Va's kind of replaced Zarya as far as meta conversation goes for the longest time now. And O2 Blast, had Finn also been there when Ardo dropped the EMP onto 3, I wasn't too sure how far away Finn was. I maybe expected him to be slightly closer, but the EMP would have saved O2 Blast and kept them in that game. So fine margins. I gotta imagine Finn couldn't have been too far away, but just out of contention of running in with the Transcendence to save the day.
You can see it in the eyes. I mean, it's the only part of the face you can see, but still a positivity on Talon. They aren't acting defeated, even though they know that this is going to be tough for them. And it is a great attitude to have.
They just won the last map, so I feel too defeated about that, and they're doing reasonably well here. Okay, you let O2 Blast on to C. Now you kind of got your target out for them. Proper with the kill to Heesang, assisted by Finn.
Kellen's just keeping the pressure up, making sure he doesn't overextend. Don't want to go down here. Vigilante, pressure on the backside, but Proper does not want to go in too deep. So only the 1 dead, but O2 Blast do get the extra shots in. Slight lead on the ult charge.
Not playing for Nanos or anything.
That's
great
big.
Solo kill from Ardo to Finn. Finn's unfortunately been one of the key targets. Has always been going down, and not necessarily his fault, but what is... Oh my god.
This is it. This is the opening they need. Despite the early loss on Heesang on the initial push, this one is going absolutely gangbusters for Talon. And there we go. Now Kilo down, not a single casualty on the off-ending side. This is just as good a time as what O2 Blast did. Keep in mind, O2 Blast committed a nano boost into their own push as well. Talon, they haven't had any ultimates yet, but they also haven't had to use any yet.
I mean, that was... Finn going down is understandable. No idea how Jimbin goes off the map there. No kill credit for a boot. Possibly it could have been a rare mistake to just kind of mess up your mobility and go off the map, but I gotta say that probably wouldn't happen at this level, or at least it's so rare that I don't expect it to have happened. So somebody must have pushed him In any case, Ultrablast lost too many. Proper goes down. He couldn't get the counter frags. He'll at least have ultimates to contend with now. Ardo nearly has an EMP, so timing is limited. Ultrablast kind of should be pulling the trigger before the EMP can be a factor.
That's the thing there, you know, time is a waste, and they're trying to get Kilo into position, trying to run interference with Kellen. Pulse Bomb out from Heesang does get taken out by FaZe. Pulse Bomb from Proper, on the other hand, delivered directly to Chorong, and then takes out Heesang because Proper is as Proper does. Kellen now dead as well. 3 for the man himself, single-handedly again wins the fight.
A little bit of support there from FaZe, obviously eating away the first Pulse Bomb from Heesang, making sure that there wasn't going to be a counter trade, and exact opposite happens with Proper landing on the Chorong, his favorite pulse target of the game so far, and has been getting that quite often. As I gotta say, a lot of traces do go for breaks, so it's not uncommon. Road2 Blast now in a lot more of a comfortable area than they were previously. Double support ultimate's about to be online for both teams in response, especially to Ardo's EMP.
Very nice, but he takes his own, I was just going to say takes his own life. That's not what happens. Kilo takes his life from him, and Talon aren't in a position to follow up on the kills. Unfortunately, they do find Kilo, but Proper, again, exacts his tats. There are no DPSs for Talon. They're just trying to push the payload on sheer momentum off that EMP, and this is where that momentum will start to run short now, as O2 Blast will be able to collect a few more kills. Nice getting the kill on the back end onto Finn. That will help just that little bit. And Talon are actually looking to respawn around this cart pretty quickly as Heesang finds Junbin. Certainly not over yet. Even as Vigilante does die to the Pulse Bomb, this is still a Talon with a reasonable number of members and actually still pushing the cart.
And this is important for the defense as well, because as the payload gets closer to these castle doors, they have the defender's spawn advantage coming up in just a hot second, so any bit of extra kill pressure that Proper anyone else can put on is very important. Kilo also dying as he puts out the Bob is, at the end of the day, okay, because the Bob kind of just replaces Kilo's own life. He'll now go over towards a Sombra in preparation for an eventual C defense. As this will be O2 Blast, attempting to hold on with only tank ultimates. Talon getting close to another EMP.
Chunbin, oh, okay, he knows his landing zone, but meanwhile, Heesang finding the solo on Proper. That's not something we've seen a whole lot of, and it gives Talon a huge advantage. Ardo will want to get healed up here, so he can come in hot with an EMP. Pulse Bomb does go wide from Heesang. Kellen hacked out as well, but now it's Ardo's time to go. Junbin straight in. Oh, Kellen's over the edge. Junbin, they need to get the trade on him. Proper's back in the mix, so this is actually a man advantage for O2 Blast. Is that respawn advantage you were talking about with that defending position. FaZe, though, will get demagged. Ardo holding close to his chest with his EMP, waiting for the right time. Heesang's dead. The right time may have just gone past them, may have just sailed on by, but the EMP still comes in, and it's big. Finn looking to come to the rescue. Wants to keep Proper alive. Proper Kilo Finn could be enough. The self-destruct doesn't take anyone out with it. Chorong still in the mix with this rally running. Vigilante does also have that transcendence, but they want to save it if they can. Proper goes down. It's attack holding down the fort this time as the DPS has come back in. This is so important for Talon.
EMP!
If they can secure it, the EMP from Kilo, can it be enough to turn it around? No Talon. They're looking to keep on top of it. They find Chiyo again in spite of that rally, and there's the cap through. That is plenty of time on the clock to secure the likes of C.
Very important fight win for Talon Esports because they had both supports down. The EMP catches Vigilante last, I believe. No opportunity to use that Transcendence, and both Chorong and Vigilante going down is bad news. If Talon don't win the fight there, it's quite probable that they don't come back with a lot to work with. Now they got just under 3 minutes for C. That's more than double what O2 Blast had. Well, it's about the same as about double what O2 Blast had in terms of 130 versus 3. Kilo hopping off that Sombra now, going for that Korean stare. Proper nearly looking for his next Pulse Bomb. Speaking of which, Kilo goes down.
Look at that. Heesang starting to live up to all of the hype we laid upon him. And now Proper down. This could just be it. This could be Talon tying up what looked like an almost hopeless series just 2 maps ago with the devastating Route 66 result. And now they round the final bend. That's it. They keep O2 Blast at bay in the spawn. Talon have tied it.
7 maps. We're going the full distance. And I got to say, after map number 4, it wasn't looking possible. You look at Busan, you look at the margins on Busan, you got to say, on some regard, it was looking like O2 Blast were going to end it there. A 4-1 victory would have been how Season 2 would have gone if Talon did not end up clutching on Sanctuary. But the timeline we're in is that Talon are a good enough team that not only do they bring it back for that map to make it a 2 and 3, but now they got a back-to-back map win, and we're going to a full map 7, and Talon had given that to us, and we have to look at this map pick and say, Eichenwalder, was it really the best choice for O2 Blast. We'll never really know. We won't get to find out what Kings Row would have looked like.
Yeah.
But O2 Blast will still have the opportunity to kind of show us what the final map pick on either Dorado or Havana could look like for them instead.
And I can't help but feel like your previous prediction of a Havana would make a lot of sense. And that is going to be far tougher for Talon than Eichenwalder was. Eichenwalder certainly didn't come easy, though I've got to say, they still had a lot of time on the clock at the end. I think just around the 3-minute mark remaining when they got that cap. So it goes to show, you know, the time, the space they bought themselves on that B defense was enough of a difference maker, given that their own offense was concise and clean enough. This is what Talon are capable of. And O2 Blast, despite how good it's all looked, despite how close they've come, they've been in this position before. They've been knocked out of very high stakes matches on match points in the past. They are coming close to falling short of the back-to-back season wins.
When you look at this series as well in context of how the season has gone, this has been the most competitive series that O2 Blast have ever been in, because it's been full 3-0 stomps outside of playing T1, where it was a 3-1. That now, for the first time this entire season, they've not just dropped one map. They've dropped 3 in this series so far. That's kind of triple what other teams have been able to do. And now when you look back and you say, well, T1 unfortunately couldn't be here, and I look at how Talon are going in the series, I'm not going to lie, and I'm going to say it right here, that I think Talon are definitely the team deserving to be in the Grand Finals. They've taken O2 Blast to a map 7. They could be winning the Grand Finals. Talon Esports could be our Season 2 champions right now. O2 Blast have not looked comfortable on Eichenwalder. They looked reasonable on Busan. It looked like it still could be a win, but Eichenwalder was definitely not the map pick that was going to give them the final map when they were looking for them. That could have gone much better for them, and they're going to have to bring it back. They're going to have to show that they can choose a much better map for them in number 7.
And look, I got to be honest, I couldn't have written this better if I tried. At this point now, we're all tied up, which is exactly where we found ourselves in Season 1. Slightly different structure. It was the two back-to-back series, and if those were tied, we went to a tiebreaker map. Need I remind you, that was not at all dissimilar. O2 Blast won the first one. It was Talon who clawed themselves back on the second day, and because they looked so much better on that day, you could have been forgiven for going into that tiebreaker map thinking Talon were favored. O2 Blast had to pull it out. They had to pull it out right at the 11th hour. They had to show that they still had that superiority that they demonstrated earlier in the Grand Finals in Series 1 of that Grand Finals. And now they're in exactly the same situation. It's a strange kind of deja vu. There's all those things that are similar, and then just those few key differences. Talon, they are just this close now. That season win that they weren't quite able to get last season. They've been jonesing for it the whole way through. It is within each team's equal grasp. But before either get to reach out and grab it, we will take a brief break, so don't go anywhere. It wasn't so long ago that I was talking about a potential 4-1. Indeed, Route 66 looked so unbelievably one-sided in favor of O2 Blast, the returning champions from Season 1, the longest-running now team of Korean Contenders history. It honestly looked like they were going to take it. Talon, they didn't just claw it back on Control, the same game mode they'd won the first time around. They also really pulled it out on Eichenwalde just now, finally doing to O2 Blast what O2 Blast did to them earlier and win on their opponent's map pick. And now all tied up 3-3, match point either way. We go to Escort, no chance of a draw. O2 Blast's map pick again.
O2 Blast, like I said, were looking fantastic. Going to Busan, dare I say, they even looked like they could have won Busan. Snatched away from them, Talon Esports, proving why they deserve to be in the grand finals, proving why they're in the top 2 this season, have been in the top 2 this entire year. And so proving any doubters wrong, I mean, there's always that kind of asterisk that sometimes looms over people's heads where you look at this season, you say, well, T1 couldn't play. Maybe T1 should have been here instead. I'm not too sure that T1 would be at map 7 versus O2 Blast right now. So confidently, Talon have really taken that opportunity. The same one that I said at the start of the broadcast before you even head into map 1. Talon have a lot to prove today by the fact that they did lose to T1 in that upper bracket of the playoffs. They have to prove that they deserve to be here more than T1. And now that we've gone for map 7, I think they've answered that question quite comfortably.
They absolutely have. Not only have they done that, but as I was saying just before the break just now, they've even brought us back to parity with Season 1. We are in the exact same situation where one map decides it. And that map last time fell the way of O2 Blast in a nail-bitingly close deal. Now it could yet go the same way, or we could finally have the reverse of that. Remember, Talon, they are the fresh faces here. I just said O2 Blast are the longest standing team in Korean Contenders now, with so many titans of the scene having bowed out. But let me tell you, as one titan leaves, another steps up to the plate to replace them, as Talon came in as an organization from the Pacific region where they had been utterly, unequivocally dominant. In fact, I remember you and I casting at the Bangkok World Cup stage all those years ago, the first time Talon won a season in Pacific Contenders, and they went on to win every single season thereafter, all the way up until the conclusion of Pacific Contenders. So they came into Korean Contenders with just as big a weight on their shoulders. Now, they didn't go straight into dominance. They didn't go straight into winning Season 1. Again, this is talking organizationally. It is a different roster, but they didn't just go straight into winning Season 1. They came a close second, but they may yet get that win now.
And that's the thing, right? Talon have, for the longest time, proven that they were the most dominant force in another region. You know, back in the day, I'll be honest about it, Pacific had a lot of Korean teams. Had so many Korean teams, it was almost like another Contenders Korea. It was like Contenders Korea Light in some cases. And when Talon eventually came over to Korea, they, in a similar fashion, a similar vein to CC, who had similarly kind of dominated the region, were trying to make a statement to say, we can play in Korea. We can be good enough to compete in Korea. Let us have that opportunity and prove ourselves. And they came in, they were very good. They weren't at a stage where they could quite take a title just yet. They've come close now 2 times. Had a grand final earlier this year. Fell short to O2 Blast. It came down to a single sudden death tiebreaker on Ilios. And now in the grand finals again, and dare I say, very equal, close margins, full distance in the grand finals. Talon have tasted victory before. They've been so close in Korea once before as well, and now it's within their grasp. Can they clutch it?
But imagine the reverse. Imagine the crazy situation where, just as O2 Blast used to be the team that constantly fell just short of the mark, always the bridesmaid, never the bride, we used to say of them, the team that was chronically second place in their best performances and always getting knocked out somewhere along the line, often to the nemesis of Runaway. Imagine if, just as they establish their dominance, they simultaneously create their own nemesis, create their own O2 Blast, the team that looks endlessly at them, ready to topple them as soon as the king slips once.
And that's the thing about O2, right? Because O2 have been, for 2 years running now, the best team in spring. That first season of the year, both 2020 and 2021, they've been phenomenal. Last year, it was an inauguration for them. That was the first time we'd seen them win a Contenders season, the first title they've had as an organization in Korea, when they've previously been to at least the final before in the very first season of Contenders Korea back in 2018. And now they come back as champions again in 2021, but after having fallen short in the second season 2020, and there was this kind of almost curse or, you know, dark omen about them, this kind of dark cloud hanging about above them for that second season. They looked so shocking compared to the first season. Here, they've looked as dominant as they were in the first season, but can they go back to back? Can they claim victory again? Or are we just in a sort of situation where Korea is so damn competitive that getting a back-to-back is seemingly impossible? And for context, only one team in Contenders Korean history has ever gone back-to-back, and that was Runaway in 2018 Season 2 and 3.
Yeah, which is, I mean, a phenomenal achievement in itself. But as you even kind of say there, it's actually that was Season 2 and 3. There were 3 seasons in that particular year, which means it wasn't even a full year's worth of dominance like what we might see out of O2 Blast just now. It is still very much possible for that to happen, but part of me almost wants to see that situation where Talon do get that win out like they couldn't in Season 1. We get a new, long-standing rivalry established in Korean Contenders, and as I kind of said a moment ago, it seems to be the way that just as a Titan leaves the region, a new one emerges. And, you know, this is all to say nothing of the fact that you've still got teams like you mentioned, CC, who come in with a certain pedigree. Teams like T1, who this season have established themselves as their own kind of giant of the region, unequivocally in the top 3, could have possibly even been the other team in this grand final. As much as at this point Talon have totally earned the right to be here, it still just goes to show how competitive this region remains, even when you don't have the Runaways, the Element Mystics of the world. You've still got O2 Blast, and you've got a whole wealth of top tier talent across several teams that are just as hungry for those title wins.
And if O2 Blast were to win it today, they would be tied equal with Runaway for most titles claimed in Contenders Korea history over how many years? 4 years, actually. It's been 4 years of Contenders. Incredible. So it would be tied equal 3 and 3. Runaway have seasons 2 and 3 of 2018 and season 2 of 2019. The gap in between was when Element Mystic won that first season 2019 and went to the Pacific Championship. A couple of substitutions on your screens as well. Merit coming in, Vindime coming in. And just before I hand it over, I gotta say, Merit coming in is something I did expect, because when we looked at Kilo playing on the last map, there wasn't that much in terms of hero pool that Kilo is bringing on board. That was too different from what Merit was playing anyway, and I think they've had more of a success with Merit anyway.
And this is a really tight situation to come into as well when you're that substituted player. Obviously, you know, these players have been in previously in this series, but now there's just that extra little bit of pressure that, you know, if it goes over the line, it's got to be you that does it. You do not want to be the player in slot that feels like you let the team down. No, it definitely would not be that situation. I guarantee you that.
You would want to be the player that takes it home, though. Map number 7, the glory is there. You want to be the player that comes on in, and you are the person that brings it home for your team as far as substitutions goes. And I can tell you right now, Attack probably feels that way. On Talent Esports came in partway through when Kane got subbed out. And sure, Attack had a couple of rough goes, Route 66 being the one that really stands out as the most one-sided map so far. Everything else has been competitive. We've gone to a full, not completion, but we've gone to the end of the map in all other respects. That's including both controls, by the way. So all 3 rounds. And now going to Dorado, what part of me is going to be a little bit surprised, because I thought maybe O2 Blast would choose Havana because they're a team that's a little bit more wanting to potentially look at the risk. But this does give me some good information as well that does tell me that O2 Blast probably want to dodge University here. They are confident that if they play their standard dive game, whether that's through the Nano Winston or through the ball, probably ball for this map, maybe Nano Winston for the A point, that they can win. That prop on the Tracer is going to be how they win today. It's been giving them their best moments as expected, as they've done all year. And O2 Blast now are going to do this to take things home potentially on map number 7, and all Talon won't get their first ever Contenders victory.
And it has been an absolute blast to watch this entire series play out in front of us. But now I have to ask the question, are you ready Are you ready to round off the year? Are you ready to wrap up and deliver? Are you ready to watch one of these teams take it all and the other to fall short this close to the mark? Because that's what's going to happen on Dorado.
Tell you one thing, I'm ready to rumble, that's for sure. O2 blasting the attack nice and early. It's going to be the double bubble once again. Very similar to what we saw in Numbani, a map that O2 Blast did win. Talon playing their standard ball, trace a Sombra dive on that defense. Look out for Ardo's charge on that Sombra EMP. Merit is not going to be mirroring, but he's going to take Heesang down.
Nice sleep onto Kellen as well. He takes an absolute hammering. It's Kellen and attack both, in fact, quite low. They get away, but only briefly.
Jesus.
That's 2 core with the flashbang, in fact, to keep them both stuck in place. And there we go, we'll get finished off. So now Merit's the one wearing the proper pants.
Yeah, he's got the 1 in his name as well. He wants to be number 1 here. 4 kills straight away on the hit scan. And, I mean, Merit has been playing a lot of this EMP Sombra today, something that Ardo's been playing pretty much the entire time. And while they substitute Kilo out, who would otherwise be on the hit scans, Merit's come in very quickly with this fast ult charge. Look, he's sort of got this Deadeye available saying, I'm going to be the guy.
Kellen goes in to try and secure the touch. They're a little bit lean on members still, but Kellen doesn't take too much damage. They can stick in this one. They need the kills. That's the main thing. And again, attack gets demech. They do at least take out Junbin this time. Vigilante was brought low, but he's able to get topped off. My eyes on Max with the charge and the grab nearly available. Staying alive here as well. The nano boost delivered to him, and good thing too, he's got 100 charge. He's an absolute beast with this nano boost on him. And that grab now available in case they feel the need. Okay, tosses it out. That's not great. Throws it too close into the mark, but doesn't end up drawing in a couple of members a little bit later on in the mix. But here we go. Talon, they may yet anchor it back. Proper still in the mix, though. Will fight to the last, and it will indeed be the last. He's still on the cap, so they have got that one over, but Talon do exact a heavy toll here.
I mean, Proper's still in this one, so we'll see if they can get a couple more frags on the O2 Blast side of things. Talon have to respect that. They also have to respect the fact that the payload went over. Had Talon prevented the payload from capping, this could be a different story. O2 Blast would have to reset. Talon would not pull off, and they would not take their foot off the pedal at all. Not even one bit. The EMP being available now. It's going to be the next call to order for the start of the next fight. And Vindime has to be the answer with the rally.
Junbin already happily in position with that Primal Rage. Takes a bit of a beating, but not too concerned. Can always pop the Primal if he's really under threat. And here we go. He gets aggressive on the high ground, immediately converts on Vigilante. That's enormous. Does not use the Transcendence in response. Junbin, yeah, okay, he's manually hacked out, but he's able to leap for safety as that's happening. But now the minefield out as they try and get some counter pressure down here. Kellen, they find Merit out. Despite the anti-heal on them, they're able to do a good bit of work. Attack does not get back in the mech, though, as Proper lands the pulse bomb, and the tank line done for as Junbin, with the nano, meanwhile, is healthy as a horse, or indeed as a gorilla, is continuing to exert that forward pressure. Did you know that the scientific name for the common brown gorilla is gorilla, gorilla, gorilla?
No. That's actually, I'll write that one down. But I also dare say it's pretty easy to remember. Something that I kind of forgot was who was actually on that Winston. Because Jimbo was doing such a great job. I thought maybe Kellen was playing the Winston. Just kind of deletes Vigilante out of nowhere with the Primal Rage. He is hacked out now. He's saying also survived the hack, I'm sure, as well. Payload has paused for the time being, as 3:10 on the clock is what O2 Blast have to work with. Working on their next ultimates. It's Max close to a grab. Yeah,
Talon basically spent a Transcendence there to force O2 Blast to have to just pull back a little bit. It's not a full reset, but they are able to just wrap around, try and take a new position. That's a nice pulse bomb out. At least scatters those supports, but not quite getting the stick. That's not his ideal, unfortunately. Max taking a fair hammering. Proper super low, but he's able to dash back to safety. Attack, on the other hand, looking to get demeched here in a world of hurt. Proper still low, does not have the recall, but no one's pressuring him either. Max marking the cart with 70+ charge is going to be the one to demech. Now the nano back onto Junbin and O2 Blast. They're just waiting for those same beats to come up, just restringing the drum until they can thump another one out. And look at that. As soon as they have the nano, as soon as they have the grab, it's a clean fight win.
And maybe this is just a substitution that O2 Blast need to get Merit in, play some hit scans, put him then back over towards the Sombra. He's fine on that. Max Zarya so far has been really leading O2 Blast to victory. Full charge, get attacked down. The D.Va is your primary target. Once the D.Va's gone, a free grab is in your sights, and they'll use that grab to get B control and the B cap as Junbin goes down. He was hacked out, though.
Was indeed. That's a great pulse bomb, though. And he rolls it into Vigilante. That's unbelievably unfortunate as O2 Blast recover.
Proper gets his tax.
Main tank, indeed recover in a big way as they lose another tank here on the defense Talon. As O2 Blast keep possession of the cart, they'll have Junbin back, but by the time attacker's back in.
Proper's going to get that frag with the pulse bomb no matter what, even if he needs Kellen to roll into his own teammate. Bit of a team mistake there. 5 ultimates available. The EMPs are great.
Wow, that's a fat EMP from Arno, you gotta say, and it might just be enough because the fight was going pear-shaped for Talon to start with. Vindave takes out Heesang, so there's actually no DPSs here, but O2 Blast respects the respawn advantage. They will start backing away.
I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that Arno drops in, was that a 5-man EMP close to it? Then O2 Blast might have felt more confident about staying in. Gotta keep jumping alive here. He doesn't want to pop Primal. But if he dies, that's just more time lost. It'd be positioning lost as well. I do suspect on some level that if Junbin goes down here, Finn will definitely nano and they'll Primal. They'll change over to Zen and a ball.
Straight in on it. That's going to force the Transcendence, but Chorong with that Bayonet on him cannot get rescued by that Zenyatta ultimate, unfortunately. So Finn really laying down the groundwork, not just the nano, but a great land on the Bayonet. It's only the 1 kill, but it is a man advantage, and now Arno's dead as he tried to look for the wraparound. Heesang's too low to stick in it. Now Vigilante Dunzo
could be the cap.
To that Primal Rage. I think it will be the cap, AVRL. Let's look at that. Last few vestiges of resistance. Another Bayonet onto Chorong. Does actually live technically to the end there, but it doesn't matter. 2:03 on the clock. It's going to have to be a time bank if Talon is still going to pick up this win.
I mean, Talon have a reasonable defensive time bank in terms of bleeding it down, but O2 Blast, they didn't slow down too much. There was some... it's hard because I think both teams had some good moments there. You can see that Talon Esports on that initial A defense, some recognizable slowdown, especially when O2 Blast actually did manage to get that A cap. There were some kills going the other way. O2 Blast have to kind of respect that. That slows them down. You can see that the B cap wasn't immediate either. You needed to get this max grav coming on through with the maximum charge as well. That's why he's called Max. It's just having that energy charge right up there for a Zarya player. And C wasn't a huge slowdown. There were a couple times where O2 had to roll back and kind of wait for members. The huge 5-man EMP from Ardo distinctively was one of those moments. But O2 Blast, outside of being slowed down, it didn't seem like they were ever on the back foot, if that makes sense. And that's even including when they lost the fight due to that 5-man EMP. They still felt like, actually, resource-wise, they're doing okay. They can come back in. They still save the Primal. Just need to make sure Jimbin doesn't die in a kind of, you know, stupid way, and suddenly things are okay for O2 Blast, and they never had to change over to a Ball Zen comp, which is what I think they would have done had that final push not have worked.
The other thing to note as well is, in effect, Talon got a successful fight win basically right before each cap. The reason there's still 2 minutes on the clock is because the fight win happened after the A cap. If that had come just before the cap went through, probably would have been about another 30 seconds off the clock. And it just goes to show those little microcosmic differences. 2 minutes is a really impressive time bank. It is going to be tough for Talon to keep pace, but it is definitely possible if they can get some high momentum. Already Heesang on the wraparounds, Max taking a very big nade, but Attack and Chorong taking a potentially even bigger one. They had to duck for cover, which does slow them down on the cart just a little bit and gives away some more positioning for the defense.
Yeah, oh, another big nade from Finn. I mean, that's just deadly. They actually lose Merit in response. So Vigilante, great trade while under pressure.
Finn
might go down as well.
Not a bad situation at all for Talon. They nearly got more out of that as well, so credit to O2 Blast to be able to pull back, but they do indeed have to pull back, which gives away space, it gives away choke, and now nice Bionate again. These Bionates are so huge, putting so much threat down, but they're not necessarily creating kills aside from that one on Merit earlier.
Well, no one wants to go on until there's going to be a nano available, so O2 Blast is just playing patiently. Finn's using the nades to just get a fast nano, and he'll get one just after Vigilante. Now the nanos are coming on in. Kellen's got a Primal off this.
Finn's Bionade just now went wide, so Kellen with that Primal Rage Junbin had used this already, so he's now got the back end of the nano boost. Heesang does go down early, but Junbin naded up.
Junbin's
that
dead.
one connects very nicely. That will be the kill collected. Kellen is a little low, but they've got the pressure on, and Attack has been able to charge up a good amount as well, but eyes on Prophet. Still has the Pulse Bomb, still a threat. Manually hacked, beautiful stuff. And Vigilante's the one to collect it with a Bionade, just because we can't get enough of those Ana E's at this point in time, as they lose Max as well. Super Max, not indeed. Attack now, like I said, that huge charge, almost like a secondary DPS, which meant they didn't really mind that much. They'd lost the one in the form of Heesang. That is a faster cap on A than what O2 Blast did.
Absolutely, and a more comfortable one as well, where, you know, the defensive team doesn't then just get a bunch of kills as you're trying to get over the line. Talon Esports have a bunch of energy on attack. Can't say the same for Max, and O2 Blast just too far away from ults. I mean, Vindime didn't have a rally when Chorong popped his. Kellen had a Primal. Jimbin was on like 30%. He was so far away from a Primal, and the Primal difference that Kellen puts out, especially on a player like Kellen, is what is going to be the difference maker. Ardo's EMP is going to get matched by Merit in just a hot second.
Look at this, Kellen on the high ground. It's a classic. Vigilante's really, he's collecting them up in a big way, jumping down, big man advantage. Oh, but what a layer up. It's a classic, a Grav Pulse, and no such out of Heesang. Unfortunately, now Merit finds Heesang, in fact. So despite the double grab, despite those members of O2 Blast stuck up in Talon's grab, it is the Grav Pulse layup, the Super Max again. Talon do get stopped.
And Max will be the one surviving this time with his energy intact. It's attack that has to be the one that gets reset. And Talon Esports, Kellen, unfortunately the last one alive, absolutely does not want to pop a Primal Rage. And when both of the Graviton Surges come in, it's Proper that lands the Pulse Bomb onto two. A Grav Pulse combo, classic, like you said. High ground control found. Auto is just soloed. No sweat.
I mean, just when you think Talon are really starting to get a leg up, they lose the one fight, and then Proper just starts getting right back on it. There's the manual hack as well on Kellerman. They had to back away. They're waiting for the respawn. This is now a significant stoppage. One that Talon can scarce afford.
And Ultra Blast just have all the ultimates as well. Nano coming on here, but Ultra Blast should be the respond.
Big EMP in response indeed, but there we go. Vigilante down on the back end. It's the double, or just one primal out of Junbin. In fact, Kellen didn't even end up using his. And they just decide to back away. They don't want to use the extra ultimates. They're happy to have got the primal and the EMP.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty even trade, though, because when it's all said and done, you have a situation where, I mean, both teams really dropped in a fair amount of ults there. It's hard to say that Talon came out ahead. You'd like to see them maybe use at least one less ultimate. The Nano was required, though. And now the Nano's in the favor of O2 Blast as they have their own Grav coming on in just a hot second.
Manual hack on Kellen's a little bit of an unfortunate one, but he still finds Proper out. Just keeps the forward pressure, does not let up, and now ready to get aggressive. Still has that Primal Rage right onto the backline. Jumpin's already dead to Heesang on the immediate follow-up. Max right in his sight.
Get Max out alive.
Really holding out on this Primal Rage. Doesn't want to use it if he doesn't have to.
Yeah, Max right now is kind of the silent carry of the team. I mean, Proper is always going to be a threat, but Max with a lot of energy has to be someone that Talon put a lid on. And he hasn't gone down just yet. He's got a grab available well ahead of attack, by the way. There's nothing to block this grab, so it should be free.
Exactly, and you can expect him maybe even to chuck it straight onto Kellen. No, actually goes for attack. I don't know that I like that because he's nanoed up. He's just fine. 1 for 1 so far. 2 for 1 now as Max is the casualty. Kellen with the primal attack super low. Able to live long enough to get the grab out. Might not have even been necessary, but he does save his own life with it. Keeping some pressure on. Attack is still living. Junbin unable to confirm the kill. Eventually loses his life. Just 2% shy of a primal. Not that I expect the primal could have turned things around, but it could have played time off the clock. And the clock is what these teams are really playing for. The cap comes over. 1 minute would match the time bank for Talon.
It's looking like that we will go to a time bank finally. I mean, 7 maps deep. We haven't had a single time bank yet, by the way. An EMP is going to be available for both teams in just a hot second. Talon, I don't think we'll be able to match the 203 by O2 Blast. They would have to roll through with some big mistakes presented by O2 Blast for that to happen. What we're expecting here is that Talon probably are looking for a 1 minute plus time bank. Just, you know, at least above 50% of the 203 that O2 Blast, if possible.
Okay, Talon and O2 Blast both survive through each other's EMPs. Now it's eyes on the Nano. Vigilante nearly has his. Junbin with a primal is all that O2 Blast have until Proper has a pulse bomb. This is down to the wire. They can't quite match that time bank at this point, but they'll be happy with a 130 or 145. And if they get a good fight win now, they'll have it. But they lose attack. It's straight for Vindame. Junbin, the primal is running Proper. Goes wide with the pulse bomb, but it doesn't matter. Junbin's got Vigilante's number. He gets the Nano off onto Chorong, not your ideal target. Chorong struggling to make the kills happen. Will at least take Finn out, but the damage has long since been done. That's an investment for Talon that does not pay off. O2 Blast, on the other hand, they get the good kills, they get the fight win, and they start to bank up a couple more ultimates.
That might actually be a mistake coming through from Talon Esports. Not too sure where Vigilante's POV was. Maybe didn't actually see attack, because attack would have been the ideal target. He was quite low. Is charging up energy, charged up the Graviton Surge. If you're not putting into Kellen, you want to put into attack. The reason why the Nano goes into Chorong, because Chorong was also under pressure on half HP, so somewhat understandable, but it isn't going to give you the DPS to get across the line, and now O2 Blast have Nano Junbin.
Speaking of getting it across the line, there's only about a minute left, and Heesang's already done for on this one. O2 Blast, they have those ultimates banked up, and can even meter them out carefully if Talon aren't careful here. Indeed, that's exactly what O2 Blast are going to do. They find attack now. Kellen has primaled. O2 Blast go, all right, they have to reset. Let's hold on to our grab. Let's hold on to our pulse bomb. Let's finish charging up the Nano. Talon back genuinely against the wall now.
And Talon are not going to change.
Dilate.
I mean, they need Vigilante to come back in. Nanon to Kellen has to be the answer here. He's been the best Winston player of this entire year. Kellen has to help, has to be the person to get Talon across. An EMP as well required. And this is the sort of situation where it's a very volatile matchup. There's just no good defense versus EMP, no good defense versus Grav. And dare I say, whoever pulls the trigger first probably wins this fight, and it might be the last one. Oh my god, you can't have time that. Woo, okay.
I don't know if I can hold out through this break. My heart is thundering right now.
Oh, we got a blue screen.
Yeah.
We got a blue screen.
No. Yeah, you can see that down on O2 Blast. What player is that? Oh, no.
I don't know. That's a blue screen.
That could be a whole reset. It depends on if it's resolvable. That could be a whole map reset.
It's got to be one of the tanks.
Yeah, it is.
The tank players sit in the middle, so it's got to be one of the tanks.
No, I think it's Max, actually. Because you can see... Yeah, you can see... Merritt's actually wearing a different
Yeah, it is Max.
jersey.
I think it is Max. You're right.
Yeah.
Max was on... Oh, Max was on full ult charge.
Yep. Full ult charge.
That was the Grav. That was the Grav.
Huge damage as well. He was on about 70% still. Or 70 charge, rather, plus that Grav available.
For the energy, yeah.
And if they can't get that resolved, that...
I mean... as I explained, this compositional matchup is heavily dependent on who pulls an early trigger. Grav Pulse would have been, I would say, a season winner right there. That's a grand finals winner. You land the correct Grav Pulse combo between Max and Proper, boom, Talon are done. But at the same time, I mean, you have to look at how the EMPs play into it. Attack's about to get a Grav as well. And there's nothing to block Gravs, no divas. Nothing to prevent EMPs outside of very clutch stuns coming through from the Brig players, or maybe a clutch sleep dart, which is even more difficult to achieve. To be fair, Jimbin is about to get a primal, so they can delay if need be, but it's very likely that Max comes in with everything deleted. As a Zarya player, that hurts the most.
This could be a rough one. That being said, look, even if... I think it's possible for Talon to win a fight here anyway. And if Max having to reset gives Talon a slight leg up, we still go into a time bank that actually favors O2 Blast in a big way.
We're not going to have a draw scenario. Thank God we don't have a draw scenario. So no matter what happens, we go to an OT, there's no draw. You have to play it out fully, which is going to be fair for both teams. Talon, if they go and cap an OT, they'll get given 1 minute, which puts O2 Blast on, I believe, 3:03 would be their time.
Yeah.
So, okay. And Max is back into game.
Okay.
And now we'll get the verdict. What's happening here? Is it going to be... Look, it's 5v5. No, but Max is just going to go in Diva. I don't mind the Diva. The reason why the Diva could be good is you have no ultimates anyway. You must block the Grav. The Matrix is there. You got to do something. The Diva is reasonable.
It could be enough, and look, it might not even be the difference maker. If Talon just win this one now anyway with only 15 seconds on the clock, then we won't even care that Max DC'd. We won't even be talking about that anymore. Vigilante delivers it to Chong to save his life, and Tank's hacked and dead! That could be it! No need for the Diva to catch the grab when the grab is completely off the table. Talon now 5v6, a desperate offense. O2 Blast! Blast indeed! Look at that! We come straight back from the pause. We drag it out to the maximum tension, and the release as O2 Blast clock their second win. Back to back, the second team in Contenders Korea history to ever hold this accomplishment. The only team to win the full year's set of seasons. O2 Blast, the undisputed, not just king, but god.
And I said this in the Season 1 Grand Finals, where the Kings of Spring were back to claim their title then. Now in Season 2, they receive a summer coronation. Finally, that second season that they've been robbed of, that has been going so poorly for them, not just last year, not just the year before either. When we look at how many times they've unfortunately missed out, we even go back to 2018 Season 1. They go to the Grand Finals, nowhere to be found in that second season. That second season has always been so hard for O2 Blast. They got that monkey off their back. Remember this moment. Remember where you were in this moment. It's the last time that we will see Contenders Korea. All of Contenders, all the professional Overwatch esports on Overwatch 1, and O2 Blast at the pinnacle, at the end of the life cycle of Overwatch 1, will be your champions and your final champions.
Unbelievably deserved. And it takes a lot of hands to lift that trophy. A huge team, huge roster, huge organization. One of the most historically significant. And for their third time total, second time running, champions holding the cup.
A team that has truly dominated all year long. A team that stuck it out. Had some of the best plays that we've seen in all of Contenders' career history. An indomitable force. Easily the most impressive team that we've seen all year long. Champions in our very first season. Close call versus Talon Esports. And another close call now. And that's why you got to remember, Talon Esports fought tooth and nail to get this far. They're absolutely deserving of going to a grand finals, pushing us to a map 7, pushing O2 Blast further than any other team has done all year long. They were the only team that could do that. From last season into this season, unfortunately, that does mean they will once again fall short. Talon Esports, since they've been in Korea, they've now gotten 2 second-place finishes and a top 4 finish before that. There's a lot to be proud of, but all the glory goes to O2 Blast today, especially that man that you can see in the back left.
Yeah, absolutely so. Unbelievable stuff, and you see there just off to the side as well, O2 Boss. What a thing he has built now in this great grand team, the organization behind it, the players it supports, and the accomplishments they have achieved. It is phenomenal to witness, and they take a well-deserved bow. They have the full adoration, and rightly so. And as you say, we now round off Korean Contenders in Overwatch 1. We'll love to see these players again in the future when Overwatch 2 is what we play competitively on.
Yeah.
And there is this little shadow of a wing blotting a tiny portion of the sun. That wing belongs to Talon. And I said it just earlier tonight, O2 Blast, in reaching this pinnacle of achievement, have perhaps in turn created their own nemesis now, their own O2 Blast, always the bridesmaid, never the bride, in Talon, falling short of the mark twice running. You bet your bottom dollar they're going to come back strong and threatening as ever before. Today, O2 Blast can celebrate, but their days of celebration may yet be numbered.
It's interesting because Contenders' career has often had, and this extends beyond Contenders' career, even all the way back in Apex, we have had plenty of bridesmaids in Korean esports history as far as Overwatch has gone. You've had the Runaways. I think Runaway was probably the first team that really held that title for the longest time as well. O2 Blast have been there. Talon have gotten back-to-back second places now. And I can't wait to see what happens in future seasons as we get towards the winner's interview. Unfortunately, we won't be actually engaging with the interview unless you can magically translate Korean Pixie.
Oh yeah, no, I've been hitting the Duolingo all season long. I'm ready.
That's
to.
good.
No, I'm not. I barely speak English.
That's true. But we look
absolutely incredible.
We look at a situation that, you know, this is also an organization, O2 Blast specifically, that, and I went back and counted this because I wanted to bring up this fact if they did win today, is that they have exported 13 players into the Overwatch League since their inception. That is 2 full rosters plus 1 worth of players. The highest profile of which was Pelican last season, coming into Overwatch League for this season. And last year, there was one specific duo that was so unbelievably good in Contenders, and that was Pelican and Proper. Proper being the guy on stage right now with the microphone in hand. Pelican came into Overwatch League this year in 2021 and absolutely rocked the entire league. Was the clear front runner for the Rookie of the Year. No competition, second place, not even close. One of the best players that we've ever had in the league, and certainly the best rookie prospect that we've had in the league, probably since somebody like, you know, Jonak. And I know it's a completely different role here. Still, what I'm trying to get towards now is there was one player that when Pelican was playing with in that DPS duo that honestly I would dare even say potentially shone even brighter than Pelican when they were playing together. And due to age, Proper couldn't be in Overwatch League this year. You bet your bottom dollar now he's the hottest prospect going into Overwatch League next year. And to no one's surprise, I think this Grand Finals MVP absolutely is deserved for Proper. Now, this isn't a sort of thing where, you know, oh, just give it to him for the storyline anyway. But go back and watch the 7-map series. This guy was popping off the entire time. Even on maps that were losing, Proper was right at the spare tip the entire time. Remember this moment, because on your screens right now, you are looking at the Overwatch League 2022 Rookie of the Year, and no, it will not be close.
I think that's an absolutely fair prediction to make. And yeah, like you say, go back and watch the series again. Indeed, watch any series that this gentleman has played in if you need any amount of proof that he is utterly deserving of not just the man of the match, but arguably season MVP as well. And I mean, it's just so phenomenal. We were talking about it throughout the whole thing, that even against another team as good as Talon, Proper is so unbelievably good. He single-handedly skews entire fights, entire maps, and by extension, entire matches. That gravity well he exerts around him, the sheer density of mass, like a black hole, drawing in defeats for his opponents, and we'll see that continue on in the Overwatch League, no doubt. But with that, we have officially come to the conclusion of this grand final of this season. Let's go ahead and remind ourselves the path we took to get here. And obviously, towards the latter part of this is the unfortunate outcome of seeing T1 have to bow out of the tournament. But nonetheless, with the grand final as it played out, you can't doubt that Talon were deserving to be there in the first place. And you definitely can't doubt that O2 Blast, having lost only 4 matches this entire season, 3 of which were in this grand finals we've just had, are absolutely deserving of the title win.
And I'm glad in some ways as well that we've removed all doubt of potential asterisks that you would put on this either season, playoffs, or series, where, you know, you might say, well, what if T1 were here? I don't know that any team would have taken O2 closer than a full 7-map series, which, by the way, outside of Route 66, went the full distance minus the time back on every single map. You don't get a better series than that. So I'm blessed to have been, you know, in some of the best seats in the house to actually watch and deliver this matchup. And beyond that as well, the whole pause situation as well ends up they didn't need the grab anyway. So again, removing that asterisk from equation, there will never be a lingering doubt like, but what if they had the grab? Doesn't matter. They actually didn't need it and they still won. But what a pleasure it's been to take everyone through and to go through Contenders' career for another year.
Pleasure indeed. It's been a phenomenal year, as it always seems to be with the Korean region, and it has been our utmost privilege to be able to bring it to you. And that will be us wrapping up and signing off for the last time this season. Thank you so much for tuning in, for following all of the action, and for joining us here for these grand finals. We hope we'll see you again in future. No doubt this region will continue to produce the highest caliber of talent, and it will always be exciting to watch it. With any luck, we'll be there once again to bring it to you. But for this season and for this year, thank you for watching, and good night.